Tom Maddox with ABC News. The Prime Minister says 70% of Australians will need to have had 2 shots of a COVID-19 vaccination before there will be fewer lockdowns. Scott Morrison has set out the vaccination threshold for each phase of his 4-stage plan, which has been endorsed by National Cabinet this afternoon. Mr Morrison says short lockdowns will be necessary in the short term until Australia moves to the next phase. He says both the whole country and each individual jurisdiction will need to meet each other's threshold before a state can move to the next step.
We will get to the next phase when Australia reaches 70% of the eligible population who are double dose vaccinated. We will get to phase C when we hit 80%.
Australia's Matt Wern has claimed gold in the men's one-person laser dinghy sailing event with a race to spare in Tokyo. Wern will be crowned with the gold medal after Sunday's medal race, but he has an insurmountable 22-point lead. It'll be the 3rd consecutive Olympics that Australia has claimed the men's laser. In tennis, Ash Barty and John Peers are on court for their mixed doubles semi-final. The Australian Medical Association says harder lockdown rules should apply across all of Greater Sydney, not just in certain areas in the west and southwest. Additional restrictions are in place in 8 local government areas, including limits on shopping and exercise within 5 kilometres of home, and masks are compulsory outside. AMA President Omar Khurshid says the virus is not limited to the 8 areas.
So what the AMA is calling for is less confusion, less complexity around the rules for lockdowns. Sydney needs to be in this as one. So we're talking about the 5-kilometre rule applying to all of Sydney. Masks outside applying to all of Sydney.
Tasmanians over 30 will be able to book COVID vaccinations from Monday. The Premier Peter Gutwein attended National Cabinet this afternoon and says Tasmania has agreed to a 4-step roadmap out of COVID. Tasmania will form a working group with the Northern Territory and Victoria as part of the plan. Mr Gutwein says a way out of COVID will only be possible with higher vaccination rates.
All eligible people over the age of 30 now will be able to book a vaccination. So we'll be opening up to people to be vaccinated over the age of 30, and you'll be able to call and book in from tomorrow moving forward.
A state of emergency in place in the Japanese capital is expected to be extended later today, with the number of COVID-19 cases there continuing to climb. Infections have reached daily numbers not seen since the start of the outbreak, with 3,600 recorded in Tokyo yesterday. Restrictions on alcohol sales in businesses are seeing people drinking outdoors. This staff member at a bar showing the Olympics in Tokyo says people would rather drink outside.
Yes, many people want to drink alcohol, and whenever we go outside and then give them flyers, they always ask us, like, do you serve alcohol? And then when we said no, they're like, okay, I'm sorry, we don't go.
The US Centers for Disease Control is shifting its advice on the coronavirus pandemic in the face of the Delta variant. The leaked advice shows additional restrictions, including increased social distancing measures and more mandatory mask wearing. The President, Joe Biden, is calling on states to increase incentives to encourage the more than 90 million unvaccinated Americans to get the vaccine. Dr. Catherine O'Neill works at a hospital in Louisiana and says it's probably going to get a lot worse, probably going to be a worse wave than last January.
So the Delta variant is far more contagious, right? But that viral load doesn't just mean that I'm going to spread it to more people. It also means that when I inhale somebody else's breath, I am getting a massive amount of virus. There's nowhere safe. If you're interacting in this community, you should be vaccinated and you should have a mask on because we are inundated with COVID.
In sport, West Coast coach Adam Simpson says Shannon Hearn will be forever remembered at the club as he prepares to play his 300th AFL game. Hearn will be the first Eagle and just the 3rd WA-based player to reach the milestone. Simpson says it looks likely Hearn will play on next season.
It's always part of the discussion what the player feels, and players like Shannon and Josh, a lot of it is how they're feeling, and then we need to know where we're at as a club as well. So we haven't actually had the conversation, but it's all pointing in the right direction.
To the weather in Melbourne tomorrow, a mostly sunny morning, a very high chance of afternoon showers and the chance of a thunderstorm with gusty winds. 19 the top after a low of 11 degrees. That's the latest in ABC News.
Professor Alan Cheng has just finished up a year-long stint as Victorian's Deputy Chief Health Officer. What was your hardest moment, Professor Cheng?
The easiest part was actually that move to stage 4.
Virginia Trioli.
The hardest thing was actually working out the bit after that. There was this very fine balance between opening up too early and not wanting to prolong the lockdown any more than we had to, and we were really conscious we only really had one shot at reopening.
Virginia Trioli. Weekday mornings from 8:30 on ABC Radio Melbourne.
ABC Sport. AFL.
Get set for the deafening roar. The pent-up emotion is about to flow. Listen to the crowd roar.
AFL.
Fans are on their feet. Can't believe what they're about to see.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season. Grandstand AFL.
We got a game on our hands here. This is really good, fierce stuff. This is a fantastic game of football. If someone told me there was something wrong with our game, I can't see it today. Actually, it's a spectacular contest. Oh, the impossible angle! Don't go anywhere. The theatre of it all. And he dribbles one through and blows a kiss to the crowd. A new day beginning. Breaks the pace, has a shot, makes no mistake.
Sends it for home. A sublime strike. Hard against the boundary. That's the glassy finish.
That is sensational. Can he slot it through for the finish? Yes, he can. Right angle on the paint of 50. May have just snuffed an incredible goal. Tries the bend off. Got him. Takes him to ground. Backs it out to his second zone arches. Go to your best players. Go to your match winners. Plays on Mo down from behind. Holding the ball. Perfect tackle. It might be a game saver. Ricochets to Martin. You know the rest. The razzle dazzle has arrived. That is spectacular. It's a new day, beginning. Ortherford kicks the goal. Welcome to the big time. Oh, the great mark. Outside of the boot, Eddie. Oh, he has kicked it. Makes no mistake. Goes back. Straightens up towards the goal and brings it back superbly. He is that familiar roar. Double fist salute to the crowd. They might have a new fan favourite. He'll snap. He'll go. A ripper from Gripper. That's on the single step and bends the through.
Grandstand AFL. The 2021 AFL Premiership season.
Dribbles it through and ends the game.
On ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
The focus of the footy world this morning was on the Teague train when it was about to arrive. All the activity was at another station. Hawthorn's conductor for the last 17 years is moving on. The four-time premiership coach Alistair Clarkson will coach his final game as Hawthorn's leader in round 23 against the Tigers. Sam Mitchell will be the senior coach from round 1 2022. All the fallout from a dramatic day at Waverley before round 20 begins tonight here at Docklands. It's St Kilda and Carlton. Charlie Curnow is finally back for the Blues, while the Saints, if they win tonight, as we go to sleep this evening, they'll be in the top 8. Who'd have thought, after a year that's really played out with a number of fits and starts. I'm Corbin Middlemass inside Docklands alongside Kelly Underwood. Good evening, Kel.
Good evening, Corbin. I'm still trying to digest 9 gold medals over the first 6 days in Tokyo. The last week's sort of been swept up in emotions and joy, exhilaration and even some tears have been shed in my lounge room. And then the Alistair Clarkson news lands, and I know that it had been speculated, but it landed with such a shock and takes me back to those big breaking news days of Wayne Carey leaving Arden Street and Malcolm Blight getting sacked at St Kilda. The news landed with that same sort of impact, and what a mess and what a disaster, and I'm looking forward to unpacking this over the next 45 minutes or so before tonight's game, which has been played by who again?
Yep, St Kilda Carlton.
And we've got a man sitting in our commentary box who would know exactly how Alistair Clarkson's feeling right now. So I'm really looking forward to this chat over the next 20 minutes or so.
It's always a joy to share the commentary box with a man who's coached more games than anyone else in VFL AFL history, in Mick Malthouse. He's with us again tonight. How timely is that, Mick, that you happen to be with us on a Friday night and all this has played out during the day? Good evening.
Well, hello, Corbin. Go, Kel, Lingy. I've ignored a lot of phone calls for tonight for the ABC. I hope they're very appreciative. I've played dumb. It's so predictable. This has been written. So it's So why is it a shock? It's only a shock because of what Clarkson said last week. And Jeff Kennett clearly thinks he walks on water and it would work for him. So it hasn't, and it was never going to. I have no doubt in my mind that Alistair Clarkson would have felt totally undermined by the Hawthorn Football Club, how it happened, how quickly it happened, and it's played out. So the thing, this is the thing that I would be very concerned about as a Hawthorn supporter. You've had since 1961 a club that was really going nowhere, and in steps a very good coach in John Kennedy, good committee, players come at the right time. They started to forge a dynasty, and from that moment right through to now, we admire the Hawthorn Football Club. But history has shown that there's been some great players who have been great coaches. There's been some great players who have been good coaches. There's been some great players who have been disasters. I am still at a loss that a committee would sit back and think that Sam Mitchell is going to be the replacement for Alistair Clarkson, who's got he's got the runs on the board. And if you want to get a bloke back like that, you train him up. The best way to train him up is let other clubs think that he's God's gift to football, and let him coach someone, and then get him a couple of years and say, or 3 years, let him serve his contract out and say, right, you're back at our club. Yeah, back comes the prodigal son, here he is. But there's no evidence that Sam Mitchell is going to be a great coach. No evidence. And I'll say this. My biggest concern is he was a club captain in a very good football side, and I think at the time was a premiership side, and was virtually told, step down. That is a major concern, because that is the chemistry mixing between a coach, or in this case a captain, and his players, which is it is different from coach to captain, but it's still got the same principles.
That's just a start from Mick Malthouse. We got him all night here on ABC Radio. Cameron Ling's here, three-time premiership player, premiership captain in his own right. G'day, Lingy.
Good to be here, Corb. Yeah, there's a lot going on, and I'm looking forward to talking about it more. I'm shocked. I said it 2 weeks ago, or whenever it was that they announced the succession plan, or the rumblings of last week. I still can't believe the decision to go with someone who might be a good coach over somebody who is a great coach. Premierships in the modern era, very, very difficult to win. There's salary caps, there's drafts, there's soft caps. It's all designed to be as equal a competition as you can possibly have it. To win premierships, let alone 4 of them, is so difficult. And Alistair Clarkson's proven he could do it. So I'm as shocked as anyone. Looking forward to getting into it more, Corbs.
There's so many angles to this. Obviously, what it means for the board. The chief executive in Ned Reeves, who we didn't hear from today, Alistair Clarkson. Obviously, what it means for him going forward, the coach himself, Sam Mitchell, who comes in to take over, and even the reporting of it as well, with Caroline Wilson really driving this story right from the start, despite sort of the smoke in other areas. So we'll get into some of that here on Grandstand AFL. Let's start with the man himself, though. This is Alistair Clarkson at his press conference late this afternoon.
You know, I've had ongoing discussions with some of our leaders around the club, in particular Ben McAvoy and Jager. Once the announcement was made in terms of not renewing my contract 3 or 4 weeks ago, and the decision was made, then all the emotion needs to go out of it. And it's just like, what is the best thing for you guys moving forward, and for our fellow coaches, for our football administration, and each time we had those discussions, then we all realised that the best thing was to get this bloke into the chair and get going as soon as we possibly could. We've had some difficult conversations over the last little while, just trying to work out just how we could make this work, and you know, what it all came back to was making sure that both my relationship with the Mitchell family and the Mitchell relationship with the Clarkson family, that first and foremost was the most critical thing that we wanted to retain out of all of this. And so some fresh air to you, lad. to take the reins of this club in about 4 weeks' time. By and large, there's been so many discussions that have taken place over the last 2 or 3 weeks that we have come to this decision, not any one party. We've had ongoing discussions for 2 to 3 weeks, really, but they've really crystallised in the last week. That would all depend on, obviously, money and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I think if I went back to the club and said, listen, a fantastic offer's come up, would you allow me to take it? I think Jeff indicated that, a couple of weeks ago, would they stop me? I think the question came to him about would they stop me from coaching Collingwood? And it's just like, well, but yeah, I'm not in that headspace. No, I don't think I will. I want to take a breath and see what the next chapter is for me. And as I said, that might not even be in football.
So it's a 20-minute press conference in a nice little 2-minute snapshot. Kelly, last week, Alistair Clarkson compared his commitment to Sam Mitchell and Hawthorn as a marriage and explained his commitment to them as such. I think today's equivalent to them is him officially filing for divorce after what played out today.
Yeah, and look, he was masterful in the media performance this afternoon, I thought. Corbin, they tried to keep everyone happy, and it's blown up in their face. And you look at the handovers. I mean, the AFL clubs continue to amaze me that they just copy and copy and copy each other. This has happened previously and it hasn't worked. So why are we still thinking it's possible? You can't have two coaches in one position. It just creates tension. It creates confusion. That's clearly how the players felt. If you're going to change coaches, you want a fresh start, which is what we heard quite a few times this afternoon. The new coach wants to move forward and have his own blueprint for the team. And how hard would that be for him to do that when you've still got you're still in the shadows of the previous coach? And if you're Alistair Clarkson, just put yourself in his position, or you're Mick Malthouse, the man sitting behind me, you've got the next in line sitting there biting at your heels, and you're about to leave. It must feel like you're sitting or a lame duck. I mean, you must question what's the point of you being there, and he must have questioned that over the next 12 months or so. I hear that he was deeply, deeply wounded by how it unfolded over the last 3 weeks, and that he's really, really hurting. Mick Malthouse, can you relate?
Oh, I can relate
to what he's in at the moment, how he's feeling. Totally,
Kel. And there's some missing links here that and I know Clarkson mentioned about family. So straight away, when that took place, that he said 3 weeks ago, it just sort of got him between the eyes. It would be devastating for his family. His wife and his kids would be sitting home thinking, "But we barracked for Hawthorn. You've won premierships, Dad. And what's happening?" And so there's let me tell you, this is a complete and utter replica. Well, we're not. Actually, I shouldn't say it. There are variances. But at the end of the day, it's going to be the same. So you got that. Then you got your player group. I know my player group, if I can believe Nick Maxwell and Daisy Thomas and a few of the other boys, they put 2 or 3 petitions up. They thought it got to the board, never got to the board. From all accounts, they got to head office. They thought it went through to the board. It never got through to the board. I could leave that one there. So straight away there's parallels there. So the player group are going, what's going on? We're in a fortunate position. We're in the 8, going to play finals football, and had come off a premiership, whereas Hawthorn are now building for their next assault on it. So there's a bit of a difference. But you know what Clarkson's like. He didn't go into Hawthorn with a premiership side. He built a premiership side, so he knows how to do it. The next phase is, the press are going to come at you. It's going to be unbelievable pressure. You can handle it. Can your players? And I didn't realise at the time, but even at the Carlton situation, was players at the end said, "Oh, well, at least we don't have the press hanging around us all day asking us, will Mick stay?" So he would have had that on his. And you can see today the press were there, and the press were at him for the last 3 weeks. He can now look at the board and go, "Really? You guys made this decision?" And let me say, I looked at the board and thought, "Oh, I'm seeing bits and pieces that are really strange with the board." And he would be absolutely doing the same, thinking, I really have been done over here, and I really wasn't party to this, and somehow or another I've ended up being a sack coach. That's it.
Well, Mick, when you talk about those comparisons to you and to this situation, the presidents two of the highest profile presidents in the game, Eddie Maguire in your case, Jeff Kennett in this case. How much in this type of decision is it the president calling all the shots as opposed to the CEO and those other people who should be there making the decisions for the football club?
Well,
is this on Jeff, is what I'm asking?
Yes, yes it is. Yes, it is. Look, I think he was making enough noises. And when Clarkson just said, and this is what pricked my ears up too, when he said there was a hint to say that if a club's after him, well, we're not going to stand in his way. This was a couple of weeks ago. That is the greatest inroad to saying, listen, Alistair, take the next job, because really, 12 months is a long time to be here under that cloud of Mitchell being the coach. So that's another nail that Alistair Clarkson would have been right in his heel. That one would have been absolutely, every time he took a step, he'd be going, but they don't really want me here, because if I said I'm going to go and coach the new Tasmanian side, he's not going to stand in my road. Wow, or in my way. Wow, that's given me that gives me no confidence that I'm really going to be here, or I'm going to have the great support. They'll argue the case all they like. Kennett's fantastic at doing this. He thinks he can turn water into wine, but at the end of the day, he will make this sound as if it's all fantastic and it's Alice's. No.
He wanted Sam Mitchell, and he thought Alistair Clarkson's time was up.
Absolutely, Cal. Absolutely. And right or wrong, he did not want to see Mitchell. As soon as all of a sudden a little bit shaky ground with Carlton, and Nathan Buckley steps in, or it was the next week that this took place. The next week, there's a panic if you've ever seen one, and the word was, oh no, we're under no panic. Well, why announce it? Why get Clarkson in the gun 1 week after Buckley was sacked by Collingwood? Because they knew that Collingwood would be coming after Alistair Clarkson. So
Cameron Ling, you've been part of a leadership, one of the most successful leadership groups that we've seen in this game. How would the senior players be feeling today, given that we know that Clarko said in his media conference today he sat down with Ben McAvoy, he sat down with Jager O'Meara, he spoke to them 3 or 4 times. How are you feeling? What are you thinking? How can we clear the air? How can we make this better? What would they be thinking tonight?
Well, Doc, I'm going to jump in. I want you to throw one more thing there, Kel. How many of those players actually played with Mitchell as well? And then you tell... Sorry, I didn't want to stop you, but that's got to be also taken into consideration.
That's a good question. Yeah. To continue the marriage analogy, you really do wed yourself to a coach. As a leader, you believe when you've got a good coach, and in the case of Alistair Clarkson, a great coach, and I was lucky enough to be with a great coach in Bomber Thompson, and then got the year with Chris Scott. You believe everything they say. You see, you feel the journey that you're on together. You see the development that they're trying to put in place. You understand what we're trying to get to, even though it's not working straight away. You're with them all the way, and it becomes a really strong bond, but a strange bond as well. Sometimes you hate them. Sometimes you go, I'd love to get my hands on this guy. But,
I know the feeling.
But at your core and your heart, you are just totally with them all the way. So to have that person ripped away while you still totally believe, and while you are about to go on a journey you think together again to have ultimate success, that hurts. And you start questioning, you start thinking, well, hang on a second, that guy who's coached 4 premierships, one of the best coaches going around, and we believed everything. So if he's not here, then what? Then what do we do? What do I believe in? And you start, I'd imagine, having those questions, which would be a really strange player as a senior leader who's totally invested in the program. And on Mick's point, you don't totally know Sam Mitchell. Yeah, you've seen him as an assistant coach, but never played with him. Perhaps in Jager O'Meara's case, you've come in, you think, okay, he could be good. I like some of the things he's putting forward as an assistant coach, but am I totally with him? There's just all those question marks now starting to swirl around, and they'll only increase over the next remainder of the season, the off-season, the Mad Monday, the week after the season when you catch up for a few drinks with your teammates and you debrief on the season. You start, what's your dealings been with Sam Mitchell? What's he like? Have you heard this? What's his plans for that? And you start little Chinese whispers in the corridor, and the message can get lost a little bit compared to this other person who you were just all in with. It's a big shift in mindset for those key senior leaders.
And the concept that on there, just get back to what I said before, Lingy. it'd be interesting to see how many players who will be there next year who have played with Sam Mitchell and would be part of that program of going, we know the senior players didn't want him as our captain. Would any of those be part of it? Or certainly with the younger players at the time thinking, we know why they haven't done it. And are we going to? And now we've inherited this bloke. He was a failed captain. Now he's our senior coach. What characteristics made him a failed captain?
Well, Ben McAvoy would have played a couple of premierships alongside
Gunson,
Yep.
Bruce.
Yep.
Be a handful there.
Yeah, only a handful, but that's all you need. Only a handful.
You touched on something about him being sacked as such as the Hawthorn coach, and it felt like after that interview that Sam Mitchell did on Melbourne radio where he went at great lengths to explain that they told me that Alistair Clarkson wasn't going to be reappointed as the next to get a new contract, and then they also came to me in the next breath and said, do you want to be our next coach? So it wasn't this sort of handover period or succession plan, I think, that the way that the club tried to sell it. I guess the relationship itself, which Clarkson stressed today, I want to keep the relationship intact with Sam, who's obviously played in premierships with him. How fractured is that relationship, and is there a way for it to remain together moving forward, do you think, from the outside looking in at the Mitchell-Clarkson?
Well, I only see it the same way with your eyes. I have no inner knowledge whatsoever outside that he, Hodge, Lewis were all told, see you later, we're going to a different era, you're going. And that takes a lot of strength, and I've written a piece about this, about Geelong. Got to be careful how they balance out their players leaving as well. But he went to West Coast, and I know that West Coast were pretty unhappy with the way that was the departure there took place. It wasn't the way that West Coast run things. So there's a lot of things that in my mind are really, really in the air, along with what Lingy said. You know, how do you know? Which way does the coin fall? You don't know.
You took a break. You had 12 months off before you then accepted the Carlton job. Does Alistair Clarkson need to have a year off?
Well, I would say in his current mental state, these are the ones we can tick off. Lingy's already said, great coach. So therefore, he's going to be there. How old is Alistair?
54. 54, yeah.
Okay, so he's going to be 55. 53. So he's going to be 55. Still young. I mean, we don't get that 55 is young. 50 is very young. So therefore, that'll still be okay. That 12 months, does it freshen him up? The answer would be yes. He wouldn't go home every night thinking, you know, what's the side? Who am I playing? Blah, blah, blah. There'll be enough. He's a quite intelligent bloke, so therefore he's not going to sit idle. He'll definitely be challenging his mind, but it'll be a different challenge. So therefore, yes, the answer is, in his position, he can afford to take 12 months off or longer and just nibble around, get his mind right, and then if he wants to come back, there'll be ample opportunity. This competition is 18 teams. Never, ever doesn't have someone or a couple of clubs hanging by a thread with their coach in that the noose or the goal, that bullet's aimed at them.
Does Collingwood need to throw everything, including the kitchen sink, at Alistair Clarkson?
Well, he is comprehensively. If we say that at round 4 games to go, who's the best coach? He is comprehensively the best coach. My thing with that would be, how does he get on with Graham Wright, and does Graham Wright see him as the right person? Only Graham Wright would know. Everyone at Collingwood would be going, let's get him. There's got to be some sanity to it. And this is where you employ the people like that to bring some sanity to the decision. Because not every coach is tailor-made for that type of thing. I still remember the great Alan Jeans going to Richmond. It never sat well with me from the outside looking in. He was my former coach. Loved him. Coached against him. And I thought, well, that's a real strange... It only lasted, 12 months?
Did you feel a bit like that with Carlton?
Eventually. When I say eventually, I got there and I thought, this is just odd. I mean, there was odd things that I didn't take in consideration. Even the first game I coached, the luncheon, my wife, Nanette, a former great player who actually incidentally works for this organisation, got up and criticised my team, criticised my appointment. And I thought, so straight away you think, wow, that's a lot from a player who hasn't coached, making those things take place. So yes, I think you've got to pick and choose. I think you've got to, in his position he can.
More from Mick Malthouse coming up. Feel like we're only scratching the surface with this. And then there's a game of footy. The Saints and the Blues on the way. Grandstand AFL.
When history is made.
Into the net she goes, and Ash Barty has done it. The world #1 has conquered Wimbledon for the first time, and she crouches on her haunches. She's crying tears of joy. She can't quite believe it. She said it would be a dream, and it certainly has proved to be.
ABC Sport is there.
I hope I made everyone proud. No, you did.
ABC Sport on radio, online, and on the ABC Listen app. ABC Sport.
AFL. Grandstand AFL.
Right boot from the top angle. Oh, yes.
What a high quality game this is. Tremendous.
It's so good to watch.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
It's a new day, new day, new day. Beginning.
Gibbons runs onto it, gathers hardly at the boundary side.
Oh, no! That is a great goal. Paddles it to his own advantage, bangs it up into the top deck.
Kick it inside forward 50. Massive point! What a mark!
That's his trademark.
Snap from the pocket, splits the middle.
This game is going up a gear.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season.
He started it, he finishes it.
On ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Round 20 is upon us in the AFL Premiership season. Carlton with a story all week with pressure building on David Teague after a poor performance last Saturday against North Melbourne, the 18th ranked team. Carlton with plenty of focus on them coming up against St Kilda, and yet the story of the day has been the bombshell departure of Alistair Clarkson at the Hawthorn Football Club, learning today that him and the Hawks will part ways at the end of 2021, and from round 1 2022 Sam Mitchell will be the new senior coach of the Hawthorn Football Club. Corbin Middlemass, Kelly Underwood, Mick Malthouse, Cameron Ling and Tim Hodges with you on Grandstand AFL for Friday night footy. There has been a late change, and unfortunately for the Saints, Paddy Ryder is out with Achilles soreness, so Paul Hunter takes his place in the starting 22. The medical subs, Cooper Sharman for the second week running. He was the unused medical sub on debut last week against the Eagles. And Mark Murphy will play game 298 for the second week running as the sub. We've just been chatting about the Hawthorn situation, about Alistair Clarkson and what it means for the Hawks going forward. This is their president, Jeff Kennett, a short time ago.
No, I don't think we've misled the members. We've done what we thought was the best thing. We thought it would work. As it's turned out, it's caused a lot of confusion. No one's perfect. I accept responsibility for that. We adjust. I'm not going to talk about the term. That's irrelevant, right? All I can say is Clarko's getting every entitlement to which he is owed and which he deserves.
So it was a decision they made at whatever cost, Lingy, and the cost is this, the fallout with Sam Mitchell to coach from round 1 next year.
Big fallout, but the payout isn't irrelevant because it goes into the soft cap. Now, that might be spread over 2 years, and I think they had discussions with the AFL about trying to spread it out over 3 years. And that still has an impact. If Alistair Clarkson doesn't take a job next year, then that full figure of $900,000 or $1 million is paid by Hawthorn and comes under their soft cap. If he takes a job elsewhere, then whatever the difference is, obviously Hawthorn makes it up to that point. Mick was just talking before the break about coaching next year. I think he has a year off because he's the type of person who will want to take stock of the competition, really deeply analyse playing lists. I'd imagine this being true, Mick. You are so focused on your team, all of your players, and then looking at maybe the best 25 to 30 of opposition teams coming up, and you trust other people to be the forward scouts. You wouldn't do too many, as the senior coach, too many deep dives on player number 25 to 45 on AFL through and see, okay, this team has got a terrific group of 18 to 21-year-olds who are yet to feature that much. I'm going to build that. I've got some key positions there. We're going to go to the draft here and start putting some pieces together before he just jumps at the first job that becomes available and the big offers roll in from a team like Collingwood.
And roll onto that too, Lingy, is who's given up their first-round picks. Hawthorn, no, Collingwood have given up their... So they may well get Dacos, but it's going to cost them probably a couple of years of picks. So you're spot on. There's so many things to look at. And also to wear yourself off that club. 17 years, that's his only coaching job, and he would know every person, from the doorman right through to the board members right through. You start all over. Look, I'm just trying to put myself back in what I felt like when it first happened. I mean, you're livid in many respects because you just know that the way it was done is not what you wanted, really. I mean, yeah, okay, everyone's going. And I'm not talking about myself here. I'm talking about him. So this is about Clarkson. So forget about what happened 11 years ago or 13 years ago, whatever it was. He was in shock because he was probably thinking, I'll get another 3-year contract because I've proven that I can actually build a team. And then to have that take place, he should have read the tea leaves when Mitchell was enticed back from West Coast. That's my. So sometimes you're too honest. Sometimes you just think that these things don't happen behind your back, and people are scheming, and so I don't think Kennett's made any secret of the fact that he loves the way Mitchell played and wanted him. So perhaps Alistair was just too trusting and too naive, and then didn't read it, and all of a sudden it's hit him with a big right cross.
The other thing that no one's really looked at, so Jeff Kennett wanted that succession, wanted that next person, that great Hawthorn person who could come in and take over as coach, but seemed in such a rush to do it, bring him back from West Coast, get him in, because he's always been pretty open about the fact that I think 10 or 12 years is the amount of time you should have in as a CEO or as a leader or a coach. Now, Clarkson's done more than that. Get Mitchell back. He had another option, Jeff Kennett, in my eyes. If he didn't want to rush Alistair Clarkson out the door, he could have taken his time when you've got a 3-time premiership captain who's just starting to dabble a little bit in coaching up north in Brisbane.
Yep.
You've got Luke Hodge there.
Well liked.
Extremely well
really
liked.
Well, and
great
respected
leader,
as a leader.
and might go down that coaching path, but become a senior coach in 6 years' time.
Yes.
Which would then allow Alistair Clarkson to transition and have a full crack at rebuilding this entire list and seeing if he can go back up the ladder again.
How many? I'll just say this: how many premierships? And this is a guess. I don't even know it. Since the last 30 years have actually been coached by a former player at that football club.
Well, you and I did this off air, Mick, the other day. We came up with Kevin Sheedy in 2000.
No, well, he
sorry, Richmond. Sorry.
Yeah. John Worsfold.
Worsfold was probably the only one we come to.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, there was only about one or two in the last 20 years.
Yes, yeah. Mark
Williams. I mean, it's Port Adelaide.
No, because he was a Collingwood player. Yeah. So we're looking at one. And if you look at Hawthorn's success, John Kennedy, then they got Alan Jeans. David Parkin. How dare me forget
Luke Beveridge was briefly,
yeah. Yes, briefly, you're spot on. Yep. So it has happened, but the majority of if we looked at Collingwood, it's Lee Matthews, and so if you go to the new sides, it's pretty hard to do, like Brisbane and Sydney, who've won their premierships, even though it was Paul Roos.
Yep.
And John Longman, there's Fitzroy and there's North Melbourne who've coached, and we look at Essendon, that's been Kevin Sheedy. Yeah, look at Bomber Thompson, Essendon,
Bomber Thompson,
Chris Scott from Brisbane. Prior to that, yes, you say Luke Beveridge, and prior to that, trying to think.
Damien Hardwick's obviously Port Adelaide and Essendon.
Simpson's North Melbourne. So there's no guarantee that a prodigal son returning gives you instant success at all.
Off the SMS, Yoshi in North Hobart, the big question that remains, can Sam Mitchell coach? Sam has a lot to prove at AFL level. Sure, a great player, but the evidence that Sam can coach remains a question. And g'day, Hawks fan and previous member for 50-plus years. Absolutely filthy. Kennett must resign tomorrow. The entire board should resign. That's from Peter in Ballarat. So just a little taste of it off the SMS, 0437 774 774.
Does Jeff Kennett survive this?
Of course he will. Jeff Kennett. You know what? A few others mightn't, but he'll be still there. It'll be everyone else's fault.
I mean, you talked about Lingy there just holding out Luke Hodge and all of this, but I think that's an insight into Jeff Kennett. I mean, he sees himself as a winner. He's impatient. He's not going to cope with the fact that Clarkson stays for the next couple of years and they miss finals. And so he pulled the trigger.
But what I don't understand is Clarkson's proven he can build that. And Clarkson's first 3 years, he win-loss, I can't remember what the figure is, but it was 15 wins, 40 losses, something like that. Not a great record, but he was building something, and there was trust in him to build it. They win the flag in 2008, probably a little bit before their time, but it's a premiership.
Yeah.
And then, when they were right in their peak and prime, they went bang, 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 and won those premierships, and lost one in 2012 they probably should have won. He's proven he could do it with just a little bit of patience behind him and support behind him.
Yeah.
Now, Sam Mitchell might do exactly the same. So he will get that opportunity and time will tell. But you know what? If I was the president, I'd go with the one that I know can do it, not the one that I think and hope and maybe and might and fingers crossed will do it.
Why not let him coach? Look, he's coaching Box Hill, and that's a Mickey Mouse league at the moment. Unfortunately, the VFL has now just been absolutely slaughtered by the AFL. So we've got teams from everywhere, and half of them can't play. But so if someone is that desperate for him, let him go there and coach for 3 or 4 years, and then come back a far better coach. You're a better coach in your 5th year than you are your 4th. I can give categorically to you, because you're learning all the time.
And you're right about the VFL. That competition affected by COVID and all sorts of, and so many teams. It's not the same as a real strong competition.
It's not a secondary competition that we used to have.
Unfortunately, I heard Gary Ayres and Port Melbourne have parted ways, which is a real shame, because Ayres did an amazing job.
What a
at Port
job
Melbourne.
on a smell of an oily rag.
Yeah. Disappointing.
We're always very lucky to have the insights of Mick Malthouse and Cameron Ling. Friday night footy coming up, the Saints and the Blues. You may have heard the Saints make their way out onto the ground, and I'm pleased to say we can check in at ground level despite the fact it's empty again tonight here at Docklands. Leaning against the fence is the co-captain of the St Kilda Football Club in Jaron Geary. Jaron, first of all, thanks for your time.
No worries, guys. Thanks for having me.
After an up-and-down season, all of a sudden, if St Kilda win tonight, they're in the 8 with 3 to play. Who'd have thought?
Yeah, no, it's been a bit of an inconsistent year for us, and had a few good weeks there. The last couple of weeks have been a little bit disappointing, a couple of close losses, so hopefully tonight we can get back on the winners list and start the round in the 8.
Jaron, it's a big finish to the year. Unfortunately, am I right in saying that you probably won't take part in the rest of the season, even if the boys make finals with that shoulder injury?
Oh, it'd be a slim chance if we were to make finals. I certainly won't play any home and away games, so had the re-go about 6 weeks ago now, so I'd be pushing it, but hopefully they give me a slim chance by putting in a good show over the next month of footy.
Oh, well, that's good news. Hopefully we do see you get to play again this season. What has it been about the group that you've seen just starting to make that gain in the back half of the season? What are they doing better that the team wasn't doing earlier on in the year?
I think we've got some players back, which is certainly helped, but we've certainly been a bit more consistent. Over 4 quarters of footy, we still haven't probably hit our straps yet, really, for what we think we're capable of. But we've been able to put sort of more 4-quarter performances together, albeit still having some lapses over the last few weeks, which have probably cost us. So when we've played 4 quarters, we've certainly given ourselves a chance to win, and when we haven't, we haven't really been in the game. So that's sort of certainly been the aim, and that'll be the aim again tonight.
Jaron, we saw a breakout game from Max King last weekend with the 6 goals. He's got 30 for the season. His brother Ben's got 43. There's no sort of nothing on the line, brotherly love here as to who finishes with more goals for the season.
No, I don't know. I'm sure they'd probably have some healthy competition. I certainly take notice of how many Ben's kicked if they've played before us, because I know Max is competitive, so I'm sure every week he sees Ben kick 2 or 3, he wants to outdo him. So, I certainly keep an eye on that.
And we'll be keeping an eye on maybe his matchup with Jacob Wiedering tonight. What did you make of his breakout game last weekend? Because he has felt, no doubt, he's only human, but the criticism has been there early stages of the season. You must have been thrilled to see what he was able to do.
Yeah, certainly. And I've certainly been, confident that he's going to get there at some point in time. And I think you're going to see plenty of games like that throughout the rest of his career. I mean, it's a fair performance. He's probably not going to be able to do that every week, but he's certainly going to do some damage at times to opposition. And it's not just when he's marking the ball, he certainly brings others into the game when he's just creating the contest. And he's clearly got a solid matchup tonight. Wiedering's been in great form, but hopefully Maxi can sort of emulate some of the stuff he was able to do last week. And if he's not able to mark it 8 times like he was last week, hopefully he can bring it to ground and let the smalls get to work.
Jaron, good luck to the boys tonight. Hopefully we see you back on the park soon.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
So Jaron Geary, the co-captain of the Saints. One late change for St Kilda, Paddy Ryder, out with Achilles soreness, and there's Data which absolutely backs up the impact of having Ryder and Marshall in the same team. So when they play together, 14 wins and 7 losses. When one of them misses, they're 5 wins and 11 losses. So they win 2/3 of the time, Mick, when they've got them together.
Yeah.
And when they're not there, they only win 1/3 of the time.
Well, can you change your pick when you get here with an hour to go and Lingy says, I've got news for you. He's not playing. And we, as a collective, we went, oh, no.
We did, didn't we?
We did, because he means so... Paddy Ryder, and this is his second year or first year with Saints? Second year. He and Smith over the last 2 years, well, I know Smith's only been this year, they're the standouts at that age, over 30, who have stood up and still given great value. I'm talking Smith at Geelong.
Isaac Smith,
Gotcha. But Paddy Ryder has been instrumental in their resurgence because of his competitiveness.
Yep. And he's brilliant in the ruck, but both him and Marshall are threats when they go forward.
Yeah, are they ever.
They're smart enough to get in the right spot, and his tap work in the ruck is
brilliant, isn't it?
Is superb. So that makes a big difference. But I suppose if you're St Kilda and you're saying, okay, first half of the year not so good, pretty ordinary, but we're getting rolling a little bit, we're getting back some type of form. They're seriously going to want to take 8th spot. You've just got to go and beat Carlton after the disaster that they produced last week against North Melbourne. But if you're St Kilda, you just get the job done tonight, Ryder or no Ryder.
Yeah, but Lingy, I totally agree there. But we watched Hawthorn destroy some side a couple of weeks ago. It was at Melbourne, I think it might have been. Did we do whatever game we did together?
Draw with Melbourne.
A week later, they get smashed by Fremantle. That was Hawthorn. You go to St Kilda, they win one game, they lose the next. Carlton go and do a good... Oh, it is the most unpredictable unpredictability from sides 7th, 8th, down to 12th, because I've gone to these people who do the draft, and I've said to them, the 9th pick in the draft, he must be an absolute sensation, because no one wants 8. No one wants to be in the bloody 8, which is just incredible.
And you're right, because... Richmond have lost 5 of the last 6 games, and nobody has decided to slam the door shut on the 8 on them. They can still sneak into the top 8 if
Carlton.
they want it. Yeah. Carlton, on their side of things, they have to be breathing fire to start this game.
Yeah.
They were so bad last week against North Melbourne. The bottom team, North Melbourne at times, doing that game, they ripped through Carlton like they were witches' hats. Supposedly all week, we heard all week that they had this brutal review and there was honesty and there was players called out in the meetings and everything like that. Well, if that's the case, come and deliver on match day. Well, that's what matters.
Well, you tell me, you've probably seen Carlton what I have this year. I certainly haven't seen them a lot on Friday nights. They have sleeping pills that says wake at quarter time, because they walk out there as if they are in a happy aid party. They just want to sit around.
Well, Harry Mackay coming back in helps. Yeah, leave Sam Walsh out of it. But the rest, you're right.
But Harry Mackay can't kick goals if they don't get the ball to him. I don't care how good you are. It's like Plug a Locker playing for St Kilda. No premierships, because they only got it to him 1,000 times. He kicked 1,000 goals. What he needed was 2,000 to get him over the line.
The thing that blew me away with Carlton last week was just how appalling they were defensively across the whole ground. Now, Jacob Wiedering, I reckon, has had another excellent year as a key defender.
Will he make Yellow Australian side?
We'll see. We'll see. But even last week, Jacob Wiedering got caught out and exposed because the rest of the team just said, here you go, North Melbourne, here, have the footy, take it through the corridor, and while you're at it, we won't touch you. We'll just let you move the ball at will. And if that happens again tonight...
Well, Saints don't do that. They don't go through corridors, so that won't happen.
Well, maybe we'll see a lot around the boundary then.
Mick Oldhouse and Cameron Ling with us all night on Grandstand AFL. There is a late change. Ryder out for the Saints with Achilles soreness. Hunter takes his place. 4 changes for St Kilda from the side that lost to West Coast last Saturday. So Hunter Clark's back. First game since having his jaw broken in that collision with David McKay. Higgins, Marshall and Highmore all coming in. While for Carlton, Charlie Curnow and Harry Mackay, 2 big ins. Just the 3rd time they've played together under David Teague. So Curnow and Mackay in the same forward line. Josh Honey's back for his 3rd game. And Lockie O'Brien, the top 10 pick from a few years back. The 5th member of our team, front row of the grandstand. Not a heap of other people to share it with, unfortunately. Tim Hodges. G'day, Hodgie.
G'day, Corbin. G'day, crew. No crowd again. 220 people are in the venue. That includes the players and the coaching staff, so it is a very lonely place to be. Patrick Cripps won the toss for the Blues. They'll kick to the Lockett end. That's to the left of the television screen if you're at home watching, listening to us. The roof is closed. It's wild and windy night outside. Inside a pleasant but pretty cool 14 degrees. This should be fascinating how this plays out, guys.
Here we go. It is the start of round 20. We've got 4 rounds to go, and who wants 8th spot? Perfect bounce to get us underway. De Koning is in there. Little scrap at ground level. The toe poke went to Seb Ross. No one with a clean possession yet. Fighting hard and scrapping is Jack Steele. And it'll be a ball up on the edge of the centre square. So Howard's gone to Mackay forward for the Blues. As the quick kick, the first kick of the night, goes to Crouch. Bouncing ball, a tumbler. It's picked up by Weeding and just rocketed out of there. And marked inside that centre square for the Saints. They're away. They send it across the broadcast side of the stadium.
Highmore out to Burns, who marks and kicks to half forward, and his memory hits up, takes the mark for the Saints, kicking to the Frawley end of the ground, looks for King, who runs, leaps at it and marks overhead. Well, Max King just picking up where he left off.
Well, Lingy, cross him out. If he's in your book, Wiedering, if he's in there for All Australia, cross him straight up.
He didn't have a good run at it.
Well, how could you stand off a bloke who's kicked multiple goals last week and then jog in behind him?
Coming off 6 goals, Mick, 8 contested marks. No forward's done that since 1999. So it was one hell of a performance out west. Max King to start with a bang. His set shot is good. The perfect start for the Saints. King kicks the opener. 6 last week and the first tonight. 90 seconds in, St Kilda 1 straight. Carlton yet to score. Mick Malthouse, Cameron Ling.
It's a good point you make about Jacob Wiedering. We're seeing Max King launch at that ball and taking it at its highest point. If you let him have an easy run and launch at the footy, you're not going to get anywhere near it. No. He is 202 centimetres. Add in the reach, which is very, very long. You're just not going to get up there. So Wiedering has to take the body early, not let him have that easy pass to the footy. And that was very, very simple for Max King. He'll be thinking, if I keep getting it that easy, I'm going to kick another bag.
Yeah, that's where Stephen May's improved, because he does he's a lot shorter, but he bodies the player and makes him have to earn the spot to mark the footy.
So Larkey kicked 7 goals last week. Wiedering had him for much of that game.
And he does get very nervous, Wiedering, so perhaps he's done from last week.
First goal for the Saints. Back in the centre. Kennedy goes without it, trying to shovel it in there. It was a wrestle between Cripps and also Steele, the 2 co-captains. Now Zach Jones. He's pushed by Newman in the back. That's holding the ball. Free kick, play on advantage. Dow pounces on it, puts out in front of Harry Mackay. On a long lead, he's got Dougal Howard for company tonight. And he's marked on a 45-degree angle, only about 25 metres out.
Well, that was a wrong decision by the umpire. That was clearly a push in the back, and no wonder he dropped it, because he dropped the ball as he put his hands down on the ground to save his shoulders.
So Mackay leading the Coleman medal. He's back in the team tonight. He's doing the set shot snap off a couple of steps, and he sends it straight through. So the quick reply for the Blues might have a shootout between the 2 key forwards. King one end, Harry Mackay says bang the other end, and we're all tied up. 1 goal each after the first 3 minutes of play.
Well, I think that's a bit of a problem with both sides at the moment. We saw the 2 big key forwards take very simple marks, kick very simple goals from very simple kicks to them.
Wouldn't it be good? Like 25 years ago or so, Lockett and Dunsett, we'd be thinking right now, we're going to see 14 versus 16 goals from each end, the way these 2 have started. Unfortunately, I think we might see 2 defences start collapsing back on those big, young, tall key forwards.
And that happens, doesn't it? Yeah. The old collapse back, and the game then gets played between 50 and 50, and here we get, and, you know, it's sloppy, swing around. It's like hitting a rosy.
Let's hope we get the more attacking option tonight, Mick. Shootout between the 2 big spearheads.
He's up to 53 for the year, the Coleman medal leader, and Harry Mackay back in the middle of the ground. Jones puts his head over it for the Saints. Left it behind. Kennedy was crunched as soon as he grabbed the footy. And a ball up inside the centre square.
That's Jones again. He's a good player, Jones, but he's a fumbler. And that's 2 fumbles. One he got caught with, and that one he's botched.
Up it goes to Koning, palms it down to Ed Curnow, hooks a kick forward towards brother Charlie. In front, Wilkie knocks it down for the Saints. spills Clark's way. His hand pass back into dispute. Highmore off his backside. Got it out back to Clark. Away to Crouch. Back to Highmore. He's crunched up to getting rid of it. Away to Jones, who kicks down the wing. And his namesake, Liam Jones, gets in front, takes the intercept mark for Carlton.
Yeah, he's an intercept king. That kick into the centre of the ground put Walsh under the pump. He fumbles it, couldn't take the mark under enormous pressure. Hunter kicks it to centre half forward. Wiedering's there, meets it on the bounce. Handballs to Newman. Newman was a wobbly, terrible kick out wide on the City wing. Ed Curnow's there. He's able to swoop and then deliver long to a one-on-one, and Jack Martin did well to get rid of his opponent. He played on, tried to hook it up to Silvani, couldn't get it there, and now the Saints should be able to drive out of the defensive 50, although Billings has caught. Another turnover. Cripps has got it. Quick hands. Goes back to Dow, and then Dow short finds Silvani, and Silvani will have a set shot. 45-degree angle, really just about 5 or 10 metres a little further out than where Harry Mackay scored their opener.
A couple of important touches early on for Paddy Dow for the Blues. So he passed that one to Silvani. He passed the previous one to Harry Mackay for the first goal for the Blues. His kicking has been the big thing that Blues fans have focused in on. Not quite being up to the level, but a couple of good sharp kicks early.
So to make it back-to-back goals for the Blues to start this one. Jack Silvani on the approach. Hasn't got the distance. Goes right across the face. Ball is still live. Last line of defence. Zach Jones kicks it long. Almost Membry with a mark. Spoiled from behind by Plowman. It comes back through Walsh. Walsh then gives it off to Honey. Honey's kick was smothered. And then it's Billings who just chops it out of there to the City wing.
Liam Jones first there for Carlton, knocks it towards the boundary line. Wiedering paddles it in front of him, wants the safety of the line, finds it out of bounds on the City wing.
Well, Hunter did well there. I'm sure it was Hunter out the far side because he lacks pace, but his determination got him that ball. Was it Hunter?
Yep.
Sure it was. So that's a good get there by St Kilda to hold that ball there.
He's a late in for Ryder. Marshall rucking at the moment though, palms it down, Crouch bottom of the pack, wrestles with Cripps for it. Eventually spits out the back door to Kennedy. Hand pass for the Blues. Again, close to the boundary line. Butler keeps it alive for the Saints. Gives it to Highmore. He's dispossessed in the tackle. The Blues collect through Curnow. That's Ed. Hand pass away towards Cripps. Gives it to Silvani. Hurried kick forward. Finds Fisher between wing and half forward. Looks inside 50. Mackay out on the overlap. Takes the mark. He's against the boundary line. Half forward. Centering. Kicks a shocker. Turns it over. And Zach Jones takes the intercept mark for the Saints at centre half back.
Well, something happened to the Saints back line then because Saints had players free everywhere, so someone's broken down.
Jack Martin was the loose player that wanted it, but they couldn't hit up the target as Stocker's just cluttered into by a couple of Saints players on the broadcast wing. He's okay.
What happened, Mick, out of the stoppage was Zach Fisher just spat forward, blindly spat forward and stayed there, and no St Kilda player spotted it, and that forced a couple of Saints defenders to rush up quickly, which just created an overlap over the top.
Ball up in front of St Kilda's bench. Marshall's got it at ground level. He's tackled by Ed Curnow.
Holding the ball.
Free kick to Ed. Marshall a little perplexed as he looks at the umpire and eventually tosses it back up to Curnow.
Brother.
Pump it inside 50. Where is Charlie? He ran out like a steam train. He got his hands to it, but he couldn't take a mark. Still they go here, the Blues. Honey got it off to Walsh, and Walsh curls it around his body for a quick snap, and it is back-to-back goals for the Blues. 2 straight 12. They lead the Saints 1-6. 8 minutes gone in this opening term.
We've sung his praises all year, and quite rightly so, Sam Walsh. Superb young player, brilliant player. What I don't understand there, Mick, is why out of all of those Carlton mids, you'd be leaving him free just off the congestion in space about 35, 40 metres out from goal.
Well, it's the old thing, Lingy. Once that ball goes there and everyone puts their snout over it, that's when intelligent teams who can work together, one or two inner and outer. If you don't have what I'm saying for the people outside, inner means that you've got someone at the ball, and then the outer is someone that's spread out to make sure that anything that spills out, you can cover it. And clearly the Saints had everyone in, no one out.
It was Seb Ross, bad decision.
Yep.
It's a good call, Mick.
His 10th goal for the year for Sam Walsh. First lead change of the night, Carlton by 6. Marshall with the hit out in the middle, and then follows up his own ball. Gets a little kick forward. Well, Steele went to Soccer. Soccer attacks it head on, wins it for Carlton. Out to De Koning, gives it to Williamson. He's locked up. Umpire says, ball up, you took him on. Yeah. Or in fact, he says, holding the ball. Free kick for St Kilda. Tom Williamson tried to run the gauntlet through a couple and Jack Steele wasn't letting him go. Kicks inside 50, perfect setup. Max King on the end of it. Marks in the same spot, right half forward to try and kick his second.
Well, that was smart play. Now, I don't know if it was smart play by the Saints because it would have been everyone just hogged the corridor. But what happened was by everyone getting into the corridor, it left a beautiful space out here for King to lead into. And again, Weeding was found in behind him.
So on the back of 6 last week, what a start this would be. 1 already, his second kick of the night, same spot, right half forward. A loud start from Max King. He's got 2 in the first 10 minutes. Carlton 2 straight 12, St Kilda joined them. All off the boot of Max King. He's 2 straight, 10 minutes in. Mick Malthouse, Cameron Ling, Grandstand AFL.
And watching off the ball, Mick, what happened to get Max King free? You're right, they set up that beautiful bit of space. There were some good blocks. It was Big Paul Hunter who laid a block on Jacob Wiedering. But watching it on replay, gee, Jacob Wiedering just accepted the block.
Yeah, so, didn't fight out of it.
No, so what I mean by that is, you know it's coming. You can really get around them, push them, and then accelerate out of the block to try and close that gap. He just almost hugged into Hunter and then accepted, oh, King's got free. You're going to get blocked as a key defender when a team's helping each other. You have to fight through that block, and Wiedering just turned around complaining to his teammates, but he's got to be better than that.
Well, it's going to be brutal here. Hunter's a 2 or 3 or 5 game player. You just run into him and give him everything you possibly can, see if he does it again.
Marshall to Dunstan to Steele, who then gave it off to Billings, uses his left, puts it out in front of Membry. On the City wing, he's got Newman for company. Membry tries to scoop it up, but he can't keep it in play. So it'll be boundary throw in, 70 metres around from the Saints goal.
He'll be very nervous now, Wiedering, because goals last week. He's had probably 9 kicked on him in a game and a bit.
He's in the left forward pocket, tussling with Max King as the ball spins back into play. Swooping on it for the Blues. Here they go. Ed Curnow to Sard, and then Sard, a well-weighted kick sideways, and he's able to hit up his teammate in Nunes. Nunes then goes to half forward. Over the head it was of Honey. Brad Hill with speed runs onto it. His kick comes straight back to Ed Curnow, who just pumps it into the left forward pocket, and that'll go out of bounds.
Well, I know I'm pick on Hill, and I'm going to do it again. There's a player with the ball in his hand. He kicks it virtually straight back to a St Kilda player. This time he didn't kick it as a nice drop punt. At least he made it awkward for the Carlton player.
20 metres around from the Blues goal. Mackay's into the ruck with Marshall. Here's Ed Curnow. He's been busy early, off to Cripps. Quick snap round the body and misses to the left-hand side. Just. So the first blemish of the night, Carlton 2-1-13, St Kilda 2 straight 12.
Saints had to make a late change. Ryder out with Achilles soreness, so Paul Hunter in, as we've touched on. As Dunstan marks the kick out, gives it back to Webster, kicks to a one-on-one, a dangerous ball meant for Kander. Martin wins it at high half forward for Carlton. Hand pass to Dow, back to Martin, kicks inside 50, he's drops the mark. Under pressure from Webster, hands it to Dow, his hand pass back into dispute. Cripps becomes tackler on Wilkie, umpire circles the pack. Eventually says ball up, 30 out from the Carlton goal.
So that Cripps shot at goal was another feed out the back handball because the Saints got in there too close. Again then, Sam Walsh was on for another handball for a snap at goal. They got their balance all wrong, the Saints, at the moment.
Well, the Blues have got 2 outside their front 50, so they're going to outnumber the Saints, and they're going to mark it.
Yeah, the exiting kick from St Kilda has been picked off by Stocker. Navy blue socks scrunched down around his ankles, the fluorescent green boots tonight. Headband in. Stocker spots something he likes in the pocket. They both fly. Martin was one, Charlie Curnow was the other. And then they wrestle, and it's over the boundary line, and it'll be a boundary throw-in. Just about 30 centimetres around from Carlton's goal, kicking to the Lockett end or the northern end under the closed roof here at Docklands tonight.
Well, Martin shouldn't be flying there, especially when you've got Mackay and also Curnow. He should be staying relatively free of those two.
Forward pocket for the Blues. Mackay from over the back hooks it down to Cripps, who's tackled, lost it. Throw, free kick St Kilda. An advantage applied as Ross takes it off the back flank. Hand pass away to Webster. Dishes off to Billings. Shanks his kick straight into Walsh. That was a shocker as it ricochets out of bounds. A throw in, 70 out from Carlton's goal.
He nearly missed his boot.
Oh,
he's a left footer.
Mick, your comments earlier sort of made my ears prick up. Wiedering, you said he's a bit of a nervous starter.
No,
or is he a nervy player?
He's a nervy player. Nervy player. He would still think of those goals kicked on him last week. And this is not going to do his mind any good at all. 2 goals in the first quarter.
So boundary throw in on the outer side. Hunter down to Steele, who's tackled by De Koning.
So nervy, like overthinker, overanalyzer.
And a doubter. Yep. So he'd be doubting himself.
It's Curnow alongside Jack Steele at this stoppage. It's Walsh that gets it back to Sard. Sard a fumble and then a fresh air kick in there by Kent. A Crouch rather. Ball spills to the side. Crouch dives on it. His handball at the back couldn't quite hit up Dunstan, and now the Blues with the intercept. Honey with the well-weighted kick brings it to the broadcast wing. Does it sit here for Martin? Martin's opponent goes to ground, and he went to ground because he got a shove in the back, according to the umpire. So it'll be a free kick to Webster. The left footer makes sweet connection this time. It needs to be pinpoint to try and get it to Kent, and then bearing down on him is Ryan Burns. Over the boundary, Burns and Newman couldn't keep it in play. So a boundary throw in, 50 around now from the Saints goal. And it's Carlton leading by 1 point after 15 minutes here at Docklands.
Seb Ross trying to do a bit of a job on Sam Walsh. I do not like his starting points at all on Walsh.
Hunter wins it down to Crouch, kick smothered by Nunes. Another one to Dunstan, hands it to Burns, a high kick inside 50, and Wiedering's given away a free kick.
Yeah, arms around him. He wasn't really retarding him, but that's the umpire's cue. Arms around him, you're in trouble. I think King's as shocked as what we all are.
So Jacob Wiedering, who's had 2 kicked on him already, now ragdolling. Max King gives away the free, top of the goal square.
And I reckon that's the first. It's the cue for the umpires, but a cue for the coaches seeing that. See, well, as soon as their defender goes almost the cuddle option, they're locked back into him too. Yeah.
So couldn't have started worse for Wiedering. Couldn't have started better for Max King. A no-doubter from the top of the goal square to give him 3. In the first 17 minutes of the game, the Saints 3 straight, all off the boot of Max King. Carlton 2-1-13. A 5-point lead for the Saints. Tim Hodges on the boundary line.
Just keeping an eye on Charlie Curnow. Corbin just came off for the first rest since he's been back in the game for 2 years. He's sucking in the big ones. He did replace Jack Silvani. Silvani copped a knock to that right shoulder that's heavily strapped earlier. Spent some time with the doctor. He's still clearly in a bit of pain. That shoulder is just not right. I'm not sure it ever will be again. But he is back out on the ground.
Did he ever operate on Tim?
Yeah, many times, many times, and it's heavily strapped, and he spent probably over a minute with the doctor. So he did cop a knock on it early, and still not comfortable at all out there.
That's a dead set free kick that Wiedering gave away. But more importantly, if King now starts to be smart, as soon as those arms go in, just pull back into him, and that will automatically signal the free kick.
Saints by 5 points. Marshall slaps it about 10 metres. It's well picked up by Butler. Did a little fend off on Fisher, and then he pumps it long, and Wiedering marks.
That was a good mark by Jacob Wiedering. It just needed the kick to be to his advantage side. Then Max King, and he would have made the Carlton defender very, very nervous. But that's important. Just little tiny wins for Jacob Wiedering is important right now to get his confidence back, and that's a good kick. Up the middle.
It's a beautiful kick straight up the middle. And then they move it even quicker to Dow. Dow gives it to Walsh, and then Walsh from end to end. Can they mark on the end of it? Cripps flew in from the side. He almost spoilt Mackay in the end. This is a good little move from Honey. A shake and bake off to Silvani, who snaps one. And the Blues with another snap and another goal. So it's 3-1-19 rather, Carlton. And St Kilda 3 straight 18. So the Blues with a 1 point lead.
Now, Lingy, what did I say to you before the game? If anyone's going to do, if Carlton are going to play, you said they got destroyed last week through the middle. Let me tell you, it is like it's like the Red Sea. It opens up like you cannot believe when the Saints haven't got the ball. And you just run it through there. They are just horrible through the middle of the ground. And that proved it.
Yeah, and that was Sam Walsh running through again. Seb Ross plays some really fine run with rolls, but I just think he's got all his starting points wrong against Walsh. Walsh wants you to get attracted to that ball and just ball watch for just a momentary part of the game, and then he's gone. And then then he just outworked Ross because he'd had the little break on him, attacking kick inside 50 goal.
What would you do with Jones? He plays half back, so let him play a half back as a mid because he's playing in the middle.
Mick, the King Wiedering subplot's fascinating. What's the coaching exercise here? How do you coach Wiedering in this moment?
we got time.
I'll let you sit on it. Saints out of the middle is Dunstan. Away to Zach Jones. Hands it off to Leo Conley. Goes bouncing through the middle of Docklands. 2 bounces up over halfway. Kicks deep. Not a great
Max
kick.
King had a 20-metre break on Jacob Wiedering right then.
20 metres.
Had him cold.
Had him cold because Wiedering didn't go with him.
Kicked it straight to Wiedering's advantage. He marks last line of defence.
And Wiedering's breathing a big sigh of relief. He goes out to a one-on-one. Martin was the target. It's stolen by Billings. Gives it to Jones. A little give and go. Back to Billings on his preferred left. Too far out to score. Flying in from the side was Long. He almost took a screamer right up over the top of Wiedering. Now the ball hits the deck. Higgins gets it out. Quick little kick there. Was smothered. And now Zach Fisher scampering away. Throws it on the left boot. How will it bounce here for Wilkie? He's going to... 2 number 44s are doing battle, in fact. It's Owies and Wilkie wins the free. Skirting the perimeter, brings it back to almost centre-half forward. Dunstan on the left, kicks in the Max King direction. And Rowan Marshall in front, King behind. The player in the middle, and the sandwich was Wiedering. So that's 3 marks for Jacob Wiedering.
And that's what he had to do, but Saints have kicked the 3 of them to him, though.
Straight to him.
Yep. 5 intercept possessions for Wiedering, out to Jones, and Jones down the wing to Dow, who marks, kicks it up into the front half. Honey never broke stride, took the mark, kicks from 60 out into the pocket. It's too wide. Wanted Owies, puts it out on the full. So Josh Honey, the 19-year-old, first game since round 10, played 1 last year. That was that memorable game over in Perth against the Dockers where Jack Nunes kicked the winner after the bell. It's his 3rd game of AFL footy tonight. As Conley short to Dunstan, back to Conley. And across the goal face to Wilkie. Right back pocket for the Saints. Carlton by 1. 3 lead changes already. And we're just ticking into time on here in the opening term.
Wilkie kicks, looking for Marshall, who launches. Got his hands to it. And then a push in the back. Receives the free kick. So what's he got up ahead of him? Liam Jones now matching up on Max King. They're almost up to the wing. King caught behind. Spoiled it down with a left fist. It bounces away of the Blues to Kennedy, who puts it out in front of his teammate, unable to take the mark, but winning the free kick is Nunes. It was Wilkie that gave it away. He's too far out to score, probably 70 metres out. Can hear the yell of Jack, Jack, Jack. Which way does he go? Into the left forward pocket. He's looking for Mackay, who was double-teamed and really never gave him a chance.
Well, you posed the question before about Wiedering. I think they've done what I would have suggested, and that is swap it. Mind you, Max King's head to the bench now. Liam Jones has come with him. But I reckon Jones will take that match up from now on.
Spinning ball back into play. Mackay swings at it with a little fresh airy. Good clever dab from Howard. Down to Ross. Got it back to Howard. Howard skies it. And now who does it favour? Charging him as Nunes with real grit and determination. He gets it back. His left foot kick is smothered, was it? No. Play on, says the umpire. Curnow marked it, and then he handballs out wide. Now Fisher wants to get onto his preferred left. Can he get around Brad Hill? He can't. He got a kick away, but it affected the kick, the tackle from Hill. And the umpire's blown his whistle, said it's free for St Kilda. Butler's got it. He dashes across centre half back. His handball to Crouch put him into all sorts of trouble. Turnover city out here at the moment. Membry goes in hard, but goes without it. And now O'Brien to Dow, who just trickles at about 10 metres. No advantage of any teammate. That's beautiful work down there by Connolly. Handballed, though, to a player who was running past him, Butler, who had his back to him. Now Butler jumps on him, and 2 Blues jump on Butler. It's a messy passage of play, a real scrap fest out there at the moment, and all that hard work. Blues with a 1-point lead at the 23-minute mark of the first term.
Young Connolly can play lingy. He's got speed. He just hasn't learned to just relax a bit in the last part of his kick.
Nunes to Silvani, kicks to half forward. Hunter Clark can't complete the mark. Spills down Walsh's way, so the Blues win it back. Hand pass to Honey. Inside the centre square, kicks a high ball into the pocket. Awkward bounce for Howard. Sits okay for Owies. Blues back with it across the half-forward line. O'Brien gives it to Nunes. Off a single step, kicks for Mackay. Howard spoils. Did really well in the end. And got it down to Hill. Hand pass away to Clark. Back out wide to Wilkie. Off the back flank for the Saints. Kicks down the city wing. Spoil comes over the back from Williamson. Still there to be won. It's Nunes off the deck for Carlton. Hand pass away to Silvani. Gives it to Sard. His kick floats wide, out of bounds on the full. It's a Kilda ball off the back flank. It's run and gun stuff early. 24 minutes in, Carlton by a point. Tim Hodges on the boundary.
Just fascinating watching Patrick Cripps. He was barking orders down here on the phone, and then they gave him the phone, and then he wanted the big headset, so he went to the back of the bench, put the headset on, and they gave him the whiteboard as well. So amazing the input that he was giving to the coach's box mid-game.
So Wilkie spiralled the ball all the way up to the City wing, but it's going to come back again to half forward, and now it's Butler for the Saints. Dunstan to Zach Jones, bursting along the outer wing, handballing over the top to Kent. Kent with a long handball. That was a tough one for Membry. And a turnover here. Kennedy to Nunes, to Silvani, to Kennedy. They've got themselves in a pickle. Having to really work for it was Williamson. He gives it back to Kennedy. Goes long down the line. Who's there? Wilkie flies. He's in a one-on-one contest with Zach Fisher. Charging through was Dow. He kicks long to Mackay in a one-on-one, and Howard's given away a free for front-on contact. It'll be a free kick to Harry Mackay in the right forward pocket, and Harry will line up for his second goal. He kicked the first goal of the night. Up the other end, Max King's got 3.
Again, St Kilda defenders just ball watching a little bit. Zach Fisher, again, the free one who spat forward. It went to him, and that just forced all the other Saints defenders to panic.
Okay, here he goes off a step and a half this time. And Harry Mackay back in the team and back having an impact. He's got 2. And the Blues extend their lead out to 7 points. 4-1-25. St Kilda 3 straight 18. All St Kilda's goals off the boot of Max King, Cameron Ling on grandstand AFL.
And what I mean by ball watching is, just for anyone listening at home, is when the ball's sort of bubbling around, pinging around a little bit at ground level, still in congestion, that players away from the ball are just so fixated on the ball and just watching it, almost become spectators and just watching the play. They don't understand that their opponent might have ducked 15 or 20 metres forward on them or snuck out to one side. They're so fixated on the play, no awareness about what's going on. That's happened twice with Zach Fisher able to get forward for the Blues, and then all the other Saints defenders just have to play catch up, and they've been caught out twice.
Just the 4th time this year they've kicked 4 goals in the opening term, Carlton. You touched on earlier, Mick, their slow starts. Only 5 times leading at quarter time this year. Tim Hodges is on the boundary. Hodgie.
Max King back on the ground for the Saints boys. Liam Jones followed him. Jones went all the way to the goal square, and I think Jacob Wiedering was hoping that he would stay on him, but he's gone. Jones went to Rowan Marshall, and Wiedering matching up with Max King again.
I'd go Jones there.
3rd time we'll have a go at it in the middle. Hunter tried to take it out of the ruck, lost it. Dow waited to Koning. Hand pass to Cripps. Hand pass over his shoulder. Sets up Ed Curnow. Kicks out wide to half forward. Big H out after it. Mackay can't mark. Spills down underneath Howard, and he's happy to find the safety of the boundary line. A throw in half forward for the Blues.
I think they missed Sinclair in that back line too. He seems to be a little bit of the glue down there. At the moment, it's all over the shop.
The reality is, apart from one poor kick by Connolly inside forward 50, Max King's got 4 on Weaver.
Oh, yeah, every day of the week.
So the boundary throw in beats a couple of the ruck, and now Jack Steele with the clearing kick. He goes out towards the city side of the stadium. Stocker tries to gather it with one hand by holding his opponent off with the other. Now Membry tumbles through. Loose ball. Who jumps on it? Well, there's a tangle of arms and legs. Jack Steele's in there as well, and the umpire waits a while before blowing his whistle, holding the ball.
Who was that? Owies, maybe?
Owies on the bottom of the pack. So Jack Steele is going to be awarded with it, the co-captain of this team in the blue boots tonight, and he kicks defensively to Hunter Clark, who then goes sideways, and it was an awkward one. And a chance here for Connolly, a 19-year-old from Moe who's impressed since making his debut, and a nice little passage of play. Hits up Membry.
The middle. You can't run through the mark.
Yeah, Zach Fisher just did that. And the umpire was right there. We've seen that a few times, Lingy, over the last couple of weeks. They've sort of forgotten about that rule. Oh, the kick by Howard's an absolute shank. Pouncing on it is Owies. Gives it back to Charlie Curnow. Open goal, square backhand. Welcome back to the AFL, Charlie. He's booted it from 60 metres out from a standing start. And that was worth 2 years in the making. Talk about testing out that right knee. It's back better than ever. And that'll put a smile on the faces of plenty of Blues fans around the country.
Well, you can only say he got it. Well, it's raw talent, but you know, the St Kilda player, he couldn't work out whether he's going to kick the ball short or long, so he decided, I'll take the option in the middle where there's no St Kilda player and kick it straight to Curnow. I mean, you could not have given him a better opportunity to kick a goal than to have the two players that were going to be near him 15 metres on either side of him. I mean, it was just a terrible, terrible kick by the Saints.
First kick of the night for Charlie Curnow. And he goes bang from 60. 5-1-31 the Blues. The Saints 3 straight 18. We've got a minute and a half before the first siren for quarter time.
Mentioned as part of the pre-game, it's the third time under David Teague he's had Mackay and Curnow together in the same team. So given the fact that Charlie's barely played now for a couple of years, this is his first game since round 15, 2019. And Harry Mackay really only been this version of himself in 2021 as the premier forward in the game. Back in the middle, DeConey, and tackled heavily by Hunter, will do it all again.
And it's the future of their key positions, isn't it? Mackay, Curnow, DeConey in the ruck, Wiedering down back with Liam Jones. That's the key position players they've wanted out on the same park.
Outside the stoppage, Hill on the end of a hand pass from Fisher, gives it to Higgins. His kick not great. Walsh can't take the juggled mark, spills to Steele. Hand pass away to Kent, kicks inside 50, and Rowan Marshall holds off Jones with one hand and takes it in his left.
Oh, he's a great player. He's a ripping player, Marshall. Not only is he's the Marshall, he by name and by nature. He really does set them up. Jones is a very, very strong player. He just held him off with one arm and marked the ball.
All of a sudden they need this, the Saints. We've had 3 lead changes in the opening term, but Carlton have kicked the last 3 of the game. Half-hour mark opening term, left half forward. Rowan Marshall from 45 out. He's across the face and missing to the right. Behind, St Kilda 3-1, Carlton 5-1. 31 minutes into an eventful opening term to start round 20 of the AFL season.
Newman on the kick-in duties was going to go straight down the centre corridor and then thought better of it, and at the last minute turned in a sharp sideways kick to Wiedering.
You can get in the corridor, it's empty.
Wiedering goes long to where his big players are, including Mackay. Got his fingernails to it, waiting at the back, a host of St Kilda players, including Zach Jones. He then rockets it towards King, but waiting at the back is Wiedering.
King's got a free kick here.
King's got a free kick.
It was Nick Newman, was it? I saw he was holding him down, trying to block so Wiedering could take the mark, and the umpire said he held his arm down, didn't let him compete.
Well, the free was Edlingy.
Yep.
Max King will have a set shot after the siren for quarter time. So Carlton by 12 points. This to get it back to 6 points for Max King. And if you're just joining us, this is a siren for quarter time. Max King's lining up for his 4th goal of the night. St Kilda's kicked 3-1-19. Max has kicked 3 of them. So right on the 50, and he has hooked that to the left badly, and that is not true for a score at all. He didn't register, Mick.
No, and I'll tell you why, Kel, because that rule is playing with players' mind.
It is, isn't it? You can't step off your line.
They can't step off the line, but what if you can say to the umpire, I'm going to step inside the line, we're going to end up kicking on the line.
Yep.
And these young players have not, or coaches are just not telling their players that it's the end result, it's not where you start. So he would have been far better to say, I'm going to start inside 2 metres, but I'm going to kick the ball on the line. If I miss the line, okay, I'm out.
The umpires come up and whisper that in their ear, which is putting a bit of
yes, it does.
uncertainty in their head.
And the kick could only go where he was running.
So quarter time, the margin is 12 points. It's 5-1-31 Carlton. St Kilda 3-1-19. So St Kilda 3 goals for Max King. What a start after 6 last week. And 2 to Mackay, singles for Walsh, Silvani and Charlie Curnow with the last goal of that first term. Bit happening down on the boundary. Tim Hodges?
Well, there certainly is, Kel. There were 6 Blues on the bench by the time Max King took that kick after the siren. Matt Kennedy's got the left boot off and he's having his left ankle restrapped. This was from the last passage of play before the kick went inside the St Kilda forward line. He got caught up and tripped over and did the ankle. But the worst one is Tom DeConing. It looks like it's either ribs or a pec muscle. He's in complete agony, guys, it must be said. And the doctor said, let's take you straight to the rooms. I was watching him. You can see me. I'm right next to the race here. He stopped halfway down. He was in that much pain and was bent over in agony. So DeConing is probably the more serious one. He's gone to the rooms while Kennedy has his ankle strapped in front of me. So a couple of injury concerns for the Blues.
Thanks, Hodgie. An eventful opening quarter of footy. Max King and Weeder in that matchup. Paddy Ryder out before the start with Achilles soreness, so Paul Hunter taking his place. And it's the Blues for just the 6th time this year. They lead at quarter time. Carlton by 12 points. The thoughts of Mick Moldhouse and Cameron Ling coming up on ABC Radio, ABC News Radio and ABC Sport Digital. This is Grandstand AFL.
I wouldn't, kill women or kids. Just crazy guys.
So you know who it was?
Yes, I know. Shocking revelations.
Why didn't you tell them everything, Loretta?
Because I didn't want to die. As Kieran McGee closes in on the truth.
Even on his deathbed, the Juanita Nelson case was on his mind.
What does that tell you?
Guilty conscience.
Hear Unravel True Crime, Juanita, on the ABC Listen app or wherever you get your podcasts.
ABC Sport on Social is your sports conversation on the go. Video, player insight and analysis. This is the content you never knew you needed. Get ABC Sport wherever you scroll.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Highmore out to Burns, who marks and kicks the half forward in his memory. Takes the mark for the Saints, looks for King, who runs, leaps at it and marks overhead. Max King to start with a bang. His set shot is good. The perfect start for the Saints.
Zach Jones, he's pushed by Newman in the back that's holding the ball. Free kick, play on advantage. Dow pounces on it, puts it out in front of Harry Mackay. So Mackay leading the Coleman medal. Back in the team tonight. He's doing the set shot snap off a couple of steps and he sends it straight through. So the quick reply for the Blues might have a shootout between the two key forwards. Erno, pump it inside 50. Where is Charlie? Got his hands to it, but he couldn't take a mark. Honey got it off to Walsh. And Walsh curls it around his body, and it is back-to-back goals for the Blues.
What a start this would be. One already, his second kick of the night, same spot, right half forward. A loud start from Max King. He's got 2 in the first 10 minutes.
Oh, the kick by Howard's an absolute shank. Pouncing on it is Owies. Gives it back to Charlie Curnow. Open goal, square backhand. Welcome back to the AFL, Charlie. He booted it from 60 metres out from a standing start.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Max King, he's got 3 already, so he now has 9 in his last 4 quarters of footy. Kicked 6 all after quarter time last week against the Eagles, and yet his side trails at quarter time. It's the Blue Baggers by 12 points. Mick Moldhouse and Cameron Ling with their thoughts on that opening term.
Well, I'll just say that it's almost predictable without Paddy Ryder that a lot's left up to Marshall, but around the ground, it's the same players that are engaging for St Kilda are the same ones that week in, week out, and it's the same ones that this year have let them down. Like Butler, one bit of play, that's all you see. Higgins hardly sided. Hill not sided. Who else is down there? Well, Hunter coming into the side is he's new, but they're just not getting enough from their players around the ground where conversely, the Blues are getting all their better players involved in the game, and their non-better players, if you like to say, the 15th to the 20th, they're also contributing one way or the other.
And it feels like St Kilda, the mindset is, I want to do the right thing. So they're all just charging in.
Yep.
Feast to the honeypot, all coming in. And then the ball gets to the outside of that. And then Carlton are just opening them up from there. And a couple of times there's been snaps for goal. Sam Walsh kicked one. Paddy Cripps just missed one. Zach Fish is spitting forward. It's causing all sorts of troubles. So as much as the Saints are thinking, I've got to win the contested footy, they're all trying to do it, and none of them are doing it. So the Blues, terrific first quarter.
Carlton by 12 points. Silvani starts the second term in the right, but Marshall wins the hit out. Kennedy had it, lost it in a collision, spills out towards Steele. Hand pass to Marshall, kicks to centre half forward. King out to meet it, trying to reel it in one hand. Can't. Wiedering stands over the top of it, pulled off it by Hunter. Ump says it's all okay. Still there in the forward line for St Kilda. And Long wrestles Williamson for it. The ump says ball up.
And as good as Carlton were in that first quarter, everything changes with De Koning now not being able to go in the ruck. That's massive.
25 out from the Saints goal as Hunter palms it down to Dunstan, who's tackled. Forward pocket, the ball up for St Kilda. Kicking to the lock at end in his second term.
Umpire doesn't waste any time, flicks it up in the air. The ruck can't get it in the air, and then Liam Jones tackles Hunter to the ground. That is number 41 for St Kilda, Paul Hunter, a late inclusion after Paddy Ryder withdrew with Achilles soreness. So here goes Paul Hunter again. He was being held, and he'll win. He gives away the free kick for holding on Liam Jones in the ruck. So Jones squirts it wide with his right boot, and it's marked by Silvani across half-back. Just a step or two in from the boundary line. Usually where the Navy Blue fans would be going crazy down there in the front row, but no fans this evening. Silvani hits up Ed Curnow. Game 201. He wants to switch it. Now the kick right across the face of goal, having to wait for the bounce, was Wiedering, and then he's able to scoop it up and deliver to a one-on-one. It's Newman and Long. Newman at the back, meets it on the bounce. He needs a little bit of support. He hurries the kick down the line. It's a bouncing ball. Tough one to gather. Brad Hill does just that. Quick hands, and now Webster's involved. So too Marshall. Back to Webster here. Flicks it out wide. Billings, Webster, all by hand, but they're building momentum. Back to Ben Long with a little bit of space, and then Toe pokes it. A well-weighted pass to Membry, who marks a step inside 50. Just a step or two in from the boundary.
Tough kick from there. He's good for the distance, but that is a really tough kick from there. Across his body.
Not a lot of movement inside 50. Plenty of congestion. There's no leads on offer. Membry's just going to kick backwards.
He ignored 2 leads from Max King.
Yeah.
Calvert.
And he was in front.
So kicks back to Jack Steele, and now Steele with a penetrating kick to the hot spot. King in front. Got his hands to it. Almost a double grabber. It was a desperate lunge right at the end. Walsh has been tackled to the ground. And now Butler's in there as well before the umpire blows his whistle. It'll be a ball up 25 metres out from the Saints goal.
Well, I think King was stiff. He didn't get a free kick 20 metres out from goal. He was grabbed.
Hunter wins the head out down to Dunstan. Spins, shoots, misses to the near side. Behind St Kilda, so they're 3-2, Carlton 5-1. 3 minutes into the second term.
Has he saved himself, Dunstan, Lingy?
I think he's still doing enough, yeah, to show that when he's put in the right position for his way of playing, he's a good player.
So Wiedering bombs it straight down the centre of the ground where Charlie Curnow was there. Off hands, it's Billings. Turns, spins, delivers back inside 50. Long has to go back with the flight. Wiedering came out hard and thumps it over the line.
Well done, Ben Long.
I just love him. I love the way he plays.
He was going to give away a free kick then for frontal contact on Jacob Wiedering. Turned his body in the air, still found the footy, and created the stoppage. Well done.
Yep, the stoppage is the boundary throwing because it was spoiled over the line. So Hunter and Liam Jones, neither really took any great advantage. Scooped up to Billings. Quick hands to Steele. Steele to Ross. Ross on his non-preferred right. Skies it into the pocket. Sard came from behind. There's a holding call. It'll be a free kick to the Blues. And Wiedering breathes a big sigh of relief and says, finally things are just starting to slowly go my way.
Well, King's still getting to the ball. It's only a matter of time before he marks a couple. Don't make no mistake.
Wiedering long down the line. What a Mackay spills to Ed Curnow. Just gets a little soccer forward to the advantage of Dow. He too soccers it further afield down the wing and thumped out of play by Highmore. So a boundary throw-in on the wing. Tim Hodges on the boundary.
Corbin, Tom DeConing remains in the rooms for the Blues. They expect him to come back because there's absolutely no rush on Mark Murphy. Just an interesting one on him. He's surprised Mick and Lingy that he has got the full tracksuit on. He's got a pair of sneakers on. Like, he is not ready to play football. You know, he would need a good 5 to 10 minutes to get prepped to go out there in case there was a medical sub required.
I'm surprised he's got sneakers on.
Yeah, haven't we seen this before?
Yeah, we absolutely have. As Billings kicks inside 50 and out to meet it. Dean Kent takes the mark in the corridor.
Tom Lynch for the Crows in Tassie. Took about 15, 20 minutes to warm up.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think you should. I think a player like that should be on the bike or a football in his hand, touching the football all the time. It's too much to ask to come on and then perform at this level. So I don't understand, unless it's a league requirement that they've got to sit there.
So Kent's a good kick of the footy. He's a long kick of it as well. The left footer as he moves in from centre half forward. And that's his 5th behind of the year. So he's 0-5, Dean Kent. An interrupted season through injury. 5.5 minutes into the second term. The Saints starting with a couple of behinds.
Maybe Mark Murphy feels a little disrespected sitting there on the bench in game number 298. They're clearly dragging him over the line to get to that 300. The kick in. over the boundary line.
Well, I wonder, Cal, what the alternative would be. Because they could not get him to 300. They could not play him at all, which, given on form, it would probably be the case. So
is it the right call to have him sitting there on the bench?
If you're going to try and get him to 300, it's the only call because he's not in the best 22.
So the boundary throw in, they pounce on it, and it's going nowhere right in front of us on the broadcast wing. Mick, would you have him sitting on the bench?
I wouldn't have him in the side.
Special comments, Mick Malthouse. Cameron Lang with you tonight. Friday night footy. They call it as they see it, and that's why we love it. Now, here's Crouch. Broadcast wing, only as far as Cripps. Big ball to be won here. Rowan Marshall with a toe poke towards the boundary. Can Crouch keep it in? Looks like Cripps is happy to see it over. It's just a few centimetres away from the boundary line before the field umpire crosses his chest and says we'll have a ball up a few metres away from the Saints bench. So Carlton by 10 points, 6 minutes in the second term.
Marshall holds out Silvani, wins the tap down to Ross. His hand pass of turnover. Kennedy for the Blues. Gives it back to Silvani. Hooks a kick down the wing. Charlie Curnow with the fly. Can't come down with the footy. Spills to Fisher. Hand pass to Charlie. His hand pass knocked out. Zach Jones close to the boundary line. Keeps it alive to Wilkie. Over his shoulder to Crouch, who's tackled into the ground by Ed Curnow. The ball up in front of the benches. Carlton tonight, the Navy Blues in the all-white with the navy blue monogram, and it's a St Kilda home game, so they're in their home strip with the black shorts. As Marshall grabs it out of the ruck, hands it to Kent, and he kicks it 16 rows back out on the floor. That's one for Hodgie downstairs. And a free kick for the Blues, defensive side of the wing. Nick Newman to take it. Carlton by 10 points.
Thinking he plays right in front of us here as he goes short to Newman. No crowd. Can hear all the instructions being barked downstairs. He goes short to Liam Stocker. He's got it right in front of the interchange gate. This time he goes long. It'll land just inside the arc. Charlie Curnow in the pack, waiting at the back. Zach Fisher is a play on advantage. It is. He gives it off to Sam Walsh, who runs into an open goal. Bananas it through with the outside of his right boot, and he's got two, Walsh. And that was all too easy for Carlton. That lead is out to a game-high 16 points. 6-1-37. St Kilda 3-3-21.
Just watching that play unfold, it was a nothing long kick to a contest. There's a number of St Kilda midfielders, including Seb Ross, who's doing some sort of job on Sam Walsh, or trying to, who will not want to watch that edit again during the week in the meeting, because they allowed, once that ball got over the back, they just allowed Walsh and Fisher and all of those runners to just get inside forward 50 with as much time and space as you'd like. And when you've got a player of the quality of Sam Walsh, yes, his work rate is extremely high, but when you let him have as easy a run as that into a forward 50, he's going to hurt you every single time.
Third time in his career, he's kicked 2 goals, an equal career best for Sam Walsh, and we've still got a long way to go yet as Jones hands it out towards Steele. High up and under to half forward for the Saints. Stocker underneath it, no mark, long, clever, paddles it back to Ross's advantage. He's tackled and will have a ball up. 40 out from the Saints goal.
Well, I've made the remark before, the Saints are not fit. You judge it by how well they roam the midfield, and they do not cover the ground defensively.
Hunter wins the hit out, but straight down to Liam Jones. Sockers it 20 metres further afield, and Highmore takes the intercept mark. He's 60 out, centre half forward. Just about every player on the ground inside the Saints forward 50. To the top of the goal square, Membry flies, no mark. Spills to Williamson of the Blues. Hand pass picked off by Higgins. He threw his head back, wanting the free. He won't get it. And a ball up forward pocket for the Saints.
Yeah, just trying to draw the free kick there, but well umpired there. He ducked into that one, Jack Higgins. Right call.
Marshall takes it out of the ruck. He's tackled to the ground. A little toe poke away. Zach Jones applies the tackle. We'll have another stoppage. Exactly the same spot.
So the setup by the Saints is pretty ordinary here. They're just not covering outside the back 50 either if it comes out.
In the left forward pocket here for St Kilda as Ben Long sockers it. He can't quite get a toe to it. Wiedering just picks it up and plucks it. And Martin, nice mark, reaching up those long arms up over the top of Brad Crouch. Still in the defensive 50. We can see Tom de Koning sitting on the bench at the moment.
Not a lot of movement down on that bench, though.
No,
Anthony Hodges was all over it. Mark Murphy's not warming up.
So a couple of kicks, and they've gone from one side to the other, where Wiedering's got it defensive side of the City wing, kicks to Curnow, put his hands to it, and Carlton unable to keep it in play. Hunter Clark applying the pressure on Charlie Curnow. Carlton by 16 points. Boundary throw in on the outer side.
Blues have kicked the last 4 goals of the game. Max King kicked 3 of the first 5 tonight. He's got St Kilda's only 3 goals coming off a bank of 6 last week, all of them against Jacob Wiedering to start. From the boundary throw in, a little shallow. Hunter knocks it towards the boundary line. Zach Jones met solidly by Walsh. There's a free kick behind all of that. And Dunston's going to get it. He was tackled without the footy, so Luke Dunston at right half back. Nice turnaround for him, Luke Dunston. Tended the 3rd most centre bounces for St Kilda, behind only Steele and Crouch, playing just 10 games for the year. So was late into the team, goes long down the wing, spills down towards Higgins. St Kilda maintain possession, feeds it to Long, goes back by hand to Connolly. High kick inside the forward 50. Underneath it, Newman though for the Blues. Hand pass away to Dow. Kicks across the back line, and Fisher takes the mark, goes on a bit of a run off half back, measures his kick and finds Martin, who marks at right half back. Blues by 16, 12 minutes into the second term.
And a really casual lead by Harry Mackay on the wing, but he's able to mark and turn and spin and kick to Silvani. Silvani keeps it low, the delivery for Curnow. He leapt in the air, it was just over his head. Owies then tries to snap. It's a bouncing ball. Does it sit here for Honey? He's going to handball off to Newman, rather. And Matthew Kennedy has kicked it right on the goal line. The number 7 looked like a number 1 as he flashed through in the goal square. And Matthew Kennedy's going to finish off the good teamwork. And they have opened up a significant gap now, the Blues. 22 points, Carlton. 7-1-43. St Kilda, 3-3-21.
Different players involved, Mick. The same philosophy as that Walsh goal. The number of Carlton players who ended up streaming inside the 40, no one.
Yep, 4 to the Saints defenders, 4 to their mid. I think defenders sometimes get a bum rap out of this. It's the mids that can't stop that passage of play, and it's never going to happen with this when you haven't got the built-in fitness to be able to. And also you've got slower players in there. And you know, I know that they went and got Crouch and this sort of stuff, but at the end of the day, you've got to supplement that with a Jones, because otherwise you've got no pace. And now Jones he's coming off injury, so you know I think they're in a bit of dilemma here. What to do?
Kennedy rucking as well with no DeConing, and Silvani having a rest. Hurried kick out to the wing for the Saints is chopped off as Nunes collects. Hand pass away to Dow. His hand pass and turnover. Hill off half back for St Kilda. Carlton with the last 5 in the game as Hill gives it to Zach Jones, away to Dunston. Does a 360, then hands it back to Bradley Hill. Still at half back. Measures his drop punt beautifully to Kent, who takes the mark front edge of the centre square. Hurried handball to Crouch. Hands it out wide to Higgins. Higgins goes off his left boot. Kicks into the pocket. King the target. Shoved out of the way by Wiedering. The ball slips out of play, forward pocket for the Saints.
Well, that's better.
Much better.
Wiedering took the body of King, didn't let him have a run at the ball. And King plays very similar to Rewalt when his days were very narrow in the body. If you get moved off the ball, it's a long way back.
Carlton by 22, having kicked the last 5 midway through the second. Membry does the ruck work down to Jones at half forward for the Saints. Hand pass ends up with Walsh. He gives it to Dow under pressure, turns it over. Crouch back on it for the Saints. Hands it to Dunston, hooks the kick in the King direction. No mark. He's caught in a tangle with Wiedering. The ball spills to Liam Jones. Kicks to the back pocket. O'Brien wanted to move it forward. He's out of room, and a throw-in. 25 out for the Saints goal. 22-point lead for the Blues. 15 played second quarter.
If I was the Saints coach in this case here, I'd be so annoyed at the smaller players. That ball is going to hit the deck. If King's not marking it or Marshall's not marking it, where is Higgins? Where is
Dan Butler?
Butler.
Yep. Liam Jones in the ruck, straight down to Walsh, who then gave it to O'Brien. O'Brien with a fumble, jumping on his Dunston, wants to wheel around onto his left. He skies it a real up and under. He skied it almost into the first row. Out of bounds on the full. It'll be a free kick in that back pocket for the Blues. So taking it is Dow. He goes down the line. Wilkie spoiled it down to a teammate and then gets it back, and the defender runs towards goal. Last line of defence, Liam Jones takes a strong mark.
The Butler has had one hand pass, Membry one kick. Higgins has won 1-on-1, so you can't win games unless they get involved.
Well, the Nunes kick was trying to find Walsh. Good spoil, and maybe able to finish it off is Zach Jones, and he does. A much-needed goal for St Kilda. And the Saints torched the Blues on the turnover there. It was a Jack Nunes kick trying to cut it back inboard. Chopped off by the Saints, and they've got their fourth of the night. 4-3-27. They've got the margin back to 16 points. Carlton leads 7-1-43, halfway through the second term.
And it was a little bit gifted there, just a poor kick coming back inside by Carlton, which set up the shot at goal. But it was those players involved, Mick, that you were saying need to get involved in the game. It was Butler with a good intercept. So build your game on a bit of pressure. Then Zach Jones gets involved as well and nails the goal. They're those busy, creative players, Jack Higgins as well, that need to find a way to have a bigger impact.
Absolutely spot on, Lingy. But the other thing was, too, they had actually better set up at 50, so that so if the Carlton were under pressure, the ball was going to go back into an area where the Saints had representation. Too often, they're caught out.
Carlton by 16 points. A big goal for St Kilda to break the run of 5 straight for the Blues, but they've got it out of the middle. Fisher kicks to half forward for Carlton. Highmore takes the intercept mark for the Saints. Tim Hodges on the boundary. Hodgie.
Just watching Tom De Koning, I'm really confused, to be honest with you. He's been down in the rooms for over 20 minutes, came back up to the bench, and he's now in the hands of the physio. So it's a right pec or right ribs that are giving him grief, but it just doesn't seem a rush at all to get him back on the ground or to get Mark Murphy activated in case they need the medical sub to be made.
Has he moved, Tim? Has he got boots on? Has he actually moved at all off the bench?
It's De Koning or Murphy?
No, Murphy with his boot.
Murphy still, he's in the very right-hand side of the bench, up the back. He's got all his tracky dacks on, tracky jacket on, and his Nike runners on, so he's still 5 to 10 minutes away if they do activate the medical sub to get him ready to go on the ground. So, yeah, weird that there's no rush at all down here, which is surprising.
Carlton forced a turnover on halfway. O'Brien takes the free and hits up Harry Mackay. Out on the searching lead, he marks up left half forward. And he's only 10 metres in from the boundary line on his left, and he thinks he's within range here. The man on the mark's 48 metres out from goal.
Well, he could be 58 metres out and he's in range. Honestly, he can go the distance.
Can roost the ball. De Koning doing a few warm-ups, and I'm surprised Murphy's not doing a little bit more warm-ups, but I understand why they're taking so long with De Koning, given it's either Silvani or Kennedy that are in the ruck if De Koning doesn't come fit.
Gee, Mackay close to the man on the mark, kicks from just outside 50. What a finish. Big H, superb on the ending. Straight through it goes from wide out at left half forward. And 19 minutes into the second term, Carlton restore that 22-point buffer. A third for Harry Mackay. Carlton 8-1-49, St Kilda 4-3-27. Mick Moldhouse, Cameron Ling.
Well, as we said, he was always in range. He's just got a wonderful, a very, very easy kick for goal. He doesn't overdo it. He just, as a wrestler, I know he hasn't been overly accurate at times, but nonetheless, he's a leading goal kicker of the competition, and he's there because he can kick the goal, he can take the mark, he's a big man. He seems to be a humble sort of person, Lingy. He's not one of these blokes that, carries on, he just gets back, gets on with the job, seems to be well liked by his teammates. Really good indicator.
Well, our future of our key forwards are very, very exciting in this competition. And when you got the King boys, Harry Mackay, I mean, it's just
Larky.
Wonderful young players.
55 now for the season, so it's a 9-goal buffer on Tex Walker, second in the Coleman. Carlton by 22 points. And there'll be a secondary stoppage here, just on the edge of the centre circle. What have we got? 7.5 minutes to play in this second quarter. Silvani doing it in the air at ground level, just hacks it, rockets that kick, off hands Wilkie's able to grab it. He doesn't waste any time, and Nunes leapt up over the back of Billings. It was almost a piggyback,
Well, I thought he was in the Olympics in the high jump. I mean, what was he doing? All he needed was a pole there to jump over.
Billings with the free kick, gives it off to Brad Hill. He's in two minds, and now he's just going to kick it to the broadcast wing where Silvani, position A, couldn't take the mark, and then Williamson couldn't keep it in play. Butler wrestles with him over the boundary line, right in front of the St Kilda bench, right in front of Tim Hodges. Hodgie.
Kel, the Tom de Koning, it's a mystery. They've just had a briefing with both doctors, both physios, and Andrew Russell, a fitness coach, and they've sent de Koning back to the room. So, so we're 20 minutes on and we're still none the wiser on whether he's going to return to this game or be taken out of it.
Walsh, 2 touches in the chain, cutting through the centre square, kicks out to Martin at half forward, hand pass to O'Brien, centre in ball, and Harry Mackay takes the sprawling mark, diving down to his left, and he'll shoot from 30 out right in front.
Outstanding by Lockie O'Brien then.
Exactly.
The work rate to get over there for the handball, but then to pull the kick back inside.
They're in real trouble, the Saints. They can't get any run. They can't get any momentum. The Blues have got it all.
So sometimes these are the shaky ones for Harry. Right in front, 30 out, kicks the drop punt. There's no problems with that finish. Mackay kicks 2 in a row, and all of a sudden Carlton have kicked 7 of the last 8 in the game. The Blues by a new game high, 28 points. Time on second term, Carlton 9-1, St Kilda 4-3. Harry Mackay up to 4 before half-time.
So do we change it? This will be interesting. If the game finished right now, the coach is the coach. The coach has won games, and he puts them 4 points outside the 8. It's another intriguing thing for you, Kel. I mean, I know it's big on your thing about the Clarkson thing. So this might close this one down. Come on.
1 win.
Well, it's more than 1 win. You know it's more than 1 win. Don't be mean to them.
Speaking of intriguing, Mick, I can't understand how St Kilda haven't got more of an advantage out of the clearances.
Ruck.
With Jack Silvani and Matthew Kennedy being the ruckman up against Rowan Marshall.
So Marshall and Silvani. Marshall pumps it straight to Silvani. He says, thank you very much. I love this ruck position. He then moves it quickly through O'Brien. Quick couple of handballs, and now the kick inside 50. Rising high and spoiling it was Webster, and then Webster will run it back. A little handball received there. That looked like a throw out wide from Connolly, but somehow on the end of it was Jack Steele long down the line, and Sard closing in, speeding up on Luke Dunstan and thumping it over the boundary line.
Paddy Cripps only the 9 disposals too, in what has been a super impressive half of footy from the Blues. So doing it without a huge impact from their skipper.
Carlton by 28, time on second term from the boundary throw in. Marshall again, first touch. Walsh, so first possession, kicks to half forward. Flying Howard, can't complete the mark, spills to Wilkie. Gets a hand pass off his knees to Hill, away back to Howard. Hand pass to Clark, zigging one way, zags back the other, and then kicks wide. Finds Jones, who marks at half-back for St Kilda.
Too stationary. They're just not moving, the Saints. No run. No, very few targets. This target here goes 20 metres, but doesn't put them in a position where they can move the footy.
He goes short to Clark, still at half-back, and he goes out wide to Conley. Just got it to him in time. The pressure from Kennedy. So they kicked 3 of the first 5 tonight, all off the boot of Max King. They've kicked 1 goal since. And it's now 28 points Carlton's way. As Conley goes long down the wing in the Marshall direction. Can't mark, spills to Crouch. Hand pass to the run of Zach Jones. Kicks just forward of halfway in the King direction. Diving Wiedering punches it out of bounds and into the fence. And a boundary throw in 45 metres out from the Saints' goal.
Jacob Wiedering's fought back well since the start of this game, but it hasn't helped Max King that his teammates have hit Jacob Wiedering lace out about 6 times instead of him.
King kicks St Kilda's first 3 goals. Still reads it best, gets a little toe poke away. Zach Fisher runs onto it, handballs into space. Zach Jones goes without it. Doing well as Dunstan emerges with the footy. Left boot low, couldn't hit up Marshall. Bounces away at Higgins. He goes short and wide. And just the required distance where Jack Steele is within range. Tidy Shangle, probably 10 metres in from the boundary. He'll need to kick it just inside the 50.
Yeah, it needs to be Harry Mackay.
Oh, Jacob Wiedering's just copped one behind play. He's down. He copped a big hit to the back when he wasn't ready, and he's got back up now to defend, but yeah, that was a bit of a nasty one.
So can the captain give them a moment of inspiration here? They need a spark. They need something, and Jack Steele, little too skinny on the kick. In fact, far too skinny, misses everything.
Yeah.
And that is out of bounds on the 4. He's missing to the near side. Sard will take the free kick in the back pocket. Carlton by 28 points.
I don't know what he's looking for there, Steele. I mean, he didn't fancy himself to the kick, but he wasn't going to do any favours for the players to mark it.
Start into Newman, so from one back pocket to the other alongside the behind post. Newman goes wide to Plowman up there with Kent. The ball spills front and centre, no whistle on the play. Dunstan hangs it inside the boundary line. His hand pass cut out. Williamson went without it. Picked up by Membry. Hand pass away to Dunstan, spins out of play. And the throw in 55 out from the Saints goal. Big night for St Kilda. They win tonight. They go inside the top 8. At the moment, though, they're staring down the barrel of a 28-point deficit, which is a game high from the throw-in. Marshall, first hands on the footy, but again, Carlton come up with it for the stoppage. Williamson trying to fend off a couple. He's caught holding the ball. Second time tonight, trying to take on the tackler. And a free kick for the Saints here. Zach Jones is going to take it. And a chance to go inside 50 from 60 out. Left half forward for the Saints.
Your point, Ling, that Carlton are winning the clearances from a ruckman that's a half-forward flanker.
So Zach Jones went short and wide to Dean Kent. He's 55 out. Just going to put it to the hot spot and ask him to run and jump. King does just that. Waiting at the back was Marshall, and he dribbles it through. Top of the goal square, Rowan Marshall. And he boots his first goal of the night, and they cut that lead back to 22 points. So St Kilda 5-3-33, trailing the Blues 9-1-55. A much-needed goal for the Saints.
That was sloppy by the Carlton defenders because it was a bit of a nothing kick. I mean, it was trying for Max King, but the body on him was good by Jones, meant he couldn't get a good run at the footy. And it just spilt a little opportunist goal for Rowan Marshall. But Blues defenders were kind of on the back foot, just waiting a little bit. And a handy goal for the Saints, a much-needed one.
Yeah, interesting to see who actually went to they both went to King, I reckon, and all of a sudden Marshall was just out there by himself. So if you have a look at him, he was at the back of the pack. A good call. He just really no attention to detail.
No.
So back to 22 points Carlton's way. Marshall palms it down. Zach Jones, hand pass picked off. Cripps steals it, hands it to Silvani, tumbles a kick inside 50. Unkind bounce from Mackay. There's Howard, hands it back to Webster. Kicks hurriedly down the wing. Saab tries to keep it in front of him. Pack forms behind him. Butler stands up with it. Hand pass to Connolly. Spun around in the Fisher tackle and taken the ground. And a ball up between wing and half forward for the Blues. Carlton by 22. 28 played, second quarter. Marshall grabs it out of the ruck. Comes to ground with the footy. Got a hand pass out. Eventually makes its way to Kent. Floats his kick down the wing. Wiedering knocks it away from King. It comes back to King. His hand pass and turnover. Carlton back with it. Nunes to Newman. Kicks down the wing for Carlton. Here's Silvani. Hand pass back to Newman. Tumbles a kick down to half forward. And at the drop, Webster takes the intercept mark. And he's got it at half back for St Kilda. Goes across the back line and Clark marks. Still inside the defensive 50.
Great to see Hunter Clark back in the team, back from that nasty broken jaw. He goes short to Brad Hill, and Hill is looking for Max King. He leaps between two. He couldn't take the mark. At his feet was Butler. Butler handballs over the top to Marshall. Still a couple of kicks out. He thumps it. Who's there? Someone needs to rise from behind. It was Membry in the end. Dunstan goes to ground. A chance here for Billings. He's met heavily, and he's tackled by Jack Martin.
It's well done by Dunstan there. Just get that touch to the ball to get it out in the open for his teammate.
Ball up 30 metres out directly in front of St Kilda's goal. They're pressing and they're pressing here. Marshall takes it out of the ruck. He was tackled, then Steele just tumbles it towards the goal. It goes across the face and bobbles and rolls over. It'll be a boundary throw-in in the left forward pocket for St Kilda. We've got a minute to play before half-time. It's Carlton by 22 points.
Got to have someone on the fly here. You got Marshall versus Silvani. Get on the fly.
Shallow throw in, no clean hit out. Comes down to Steele, hand pass to Zach Jones, locked up straight away.
Set up a block or something for one of the dangerous, a Higgins or a Butler or someone like that.
You've got nothing losing, have you? Just go for it here.
Flash through.
Ball up, 35 out, Saints goal. Ticking towards half-time, Silvani and Marshall. Marshall tries to whack it back into the corridor, comes to Silvani, hands it to Nunes against his old team, kicks out of the defensive 50, spills to Kent, back in the Saints' hands, hand pass to Webster, it slips through his legs. Honey picks it up for Carlton. Hand pass to Charlie Curnow. Kicks it into an open paddock. Fisher gets a kind bounce. Runs onto it going downhill. Fisher clever. Straightens back up and Williamson takes the mark. 30 metres out right in front. Great quick thinking from Zach Fisher on the run and puts Williamson in the box seat to kick Carlton's 10th.
Oh, Jimmy Webster. He will be... He had butter all over his hands. He's just really given that ball up. That ball was ready to be driven back in the St Kilda forward line. These little touches, they just kill you around the ground.
See, Zach Fisher's had a high impact tonight for someone who's only had 9 or 10 disposals, but just his run and his work rate inside forward 50's created opportunities.
So after the bell for half-time, Tom Williamson pumps his fist. He threads it. 5 in the first term, 5 in the second. And Carlton are on tonight. They're rolling under the roof at the Docklands. And Carlton lead it at the half by 28 points. The Blue Baggers 10-1-61. St Kilda playing for a spot in the 8 tonight. 5-3-33. A 28-point lead for the Blues at the half. Tom Williamson, his first goal of the year, gives him 3 for his career in his 40 games. And what a half of footy. No shortage of talking points. One of them is what has been unfolding downstairs with Mark Murphy as the sub for Carlton. They lost Tom DeConey at quarter time, flirting with the idea of bringing him back. Tim Hodges, Mark Murphy, wasn't even suited up. He was wearing his sneakers tonight.
Well, it's amazing. Just the last 60 seconds. So that quarter went 31 and a half minutes, plus the 6 minutes of quarter time. So 37 minutes he sat there in his sneakers. And then the last 30 seconds of that term, he finally switched into his boots, probably knowing full well that he had half-time to do a warm-up here. So you can see him on the outer wing now, starting his full warm-up. And I'd expect there would be some sort of miracle for Tom DeConey to come back into the game. As much time as they've given him, if he's not right, he's not right. So Mark Murphy might get his chance at the start of the third term.
It's amazing when you look at their injury list too. So Casbolt is out, Marchbank is out, Pitternet is out injured, Oscar McDonald is out injured. So anyone with any kind of height is unavailable to Carlton, and now they lose Tom DeConey, the 22-year-old who's been shouldering the load in the ruck single-handedly. He's out of the game with what we suspect is some kind of a pec injury. 5 goals to 3 in the first term, 5 goals to 2 in the second. Carlton by 12 at quarter time, by 28 at the half. Harry Mackay with 4 for the night already. He's up to 56 for the season. 2 for Walsh, 1 each to Silvani, Kennedy, Charlie Curnow on his return, and Tom Williamson. While for St Kilda, Max King kicked 3 all in the first quarter. 1 to Zach Jones, 1 to Rowan Marshall. It's 28 points, Carlton's way at the half. Mick Moldhouse and Cameron Ling.
Well, Ling, interesting enough, 9 times inside 50 that quarter, Carlton, for 5 goals. And I reckon when you have a look at the goals, they've easily found the target of Big H. And then the others were in behind the defence, and I shouldn't say defence, in behind the defensive running of the St Kilda midfield. And once you do that, even that last one, that was outside of Webster making a terrible mistake in front of us by fumbling the football. Carlton had the runners. The Saints were all stuck back. If you we had a picture of players inside the front 50. Carlton had 3. The Saints 1. Maybe the second one may have just stepped in. You can't win games like that. You can't win games by being lazy. It's interesting. I've kept an eye on Butler and Higgins. They don't chase. If the ball is in 1 or 2 metres, they'll have a crack at it because they may be able to pinch a free kick or pinch the ball. If it's outside of that, their pressure gives Carlton every opportunity to walk through and kick and move the ball, and that puts the midfield under pressure. A slow midfield anyway puts them under extreme pressure. Carlton are playing good footy,
and that's the big thing, isn't it? Those small forwards, those high half forwards, the ones that are supposed to have the big work rate. If you're not in the right position to put pressure on, you can never put pressure on. So the decision to think, I should have gone because there's a dangerous person there and I can get over there and make the it's too late. It's far too late. You need to put yourself into a good position by doing the work early, getting yourself in that position, and then from there being able to go, oh, great, I can shut that one down, I can close that space down, I can lay that tackle, and that's when the pressure comes. The other thing that's astounded me, and this is full credit to Carlton with the way they played in that quarter, they had Jack Silvani in the ruck, and they had Matt Kennedy in the ruck against Rowan Marshall, and Paul Hunter had a little bit of a run there. Marshall's a high-quality ruckman. We've sung his praises before. The clearances at half-time, 6-5 St Kilda's way and 15-16 Carlton's way. So Carlton have worked out a way that they can still be very, very effective in the clearances without a ruckman.
Yep.
But that's an indictment on St Kilda that they can't get Rowan Marshall to just dominate and hit one or two inside to draw them in for, then
and
put
the
one,
outside.
then one to the outside, then one where you give someone going away from the ball and he feeds out the back, then you get somebody bolting through and keep changing it up, and you should be able to rip that Carlton midfield apart and make them really stagnant and reactive. Haven't seen it. Instead, Carlton have been super proactive, playing wonderful footy.
Well, there's a lot of rules in our game, and one of them is that you are virtually allowed to put your knee straight through anyone you like at a centre bounce. Now, for the life of me, I know there's going to be people out there listening to this and go, oh, that's not what the game's all about. Yes, the game's all about two ruckmen inside the circles being able to contest the football. Now, one happens to be 6'6", and the other one's 6'2", and can't really jump, then you've got every right to murder him. You've got to get your knee straight through him, and that means the next time he goes in there very tame. And then you start to dominate those. That's a simple fact of life at this level, that you must hurt your opposition when you've got the opportunity. And I don't mean maim. I'm not, all those people out there, no. This is just hurt. A good bump, you might be able to hurt someone. A good tackle, you might be able to. But when you've got the right to be able to go for that football at your size, then, and as you just said then, vary your taps so that they can't read you. Because at the moment, that unless St Kilda get a clear ball, they are so slow at moving the football. I feel sorry for King. Gold Coast move the ball better for their King than what St Kilda do here.
And the only trouble is, too, with the St Kilda midfielders. So Luke Dunstan's had 19 disposals, has been okay. Zach Jones had 16 disposals, been okay. Jack Steele's had 15 disposals, been okay. Brad Crouch has had 12 disposals, been okay. There's a lot of possessions of just short, kick, mark, go back, get a touch in there, maybe a handball, get a 1-2. Lots and lots of numbers that look okay. Whereas Carlton's midfielders, when they've got the football, on this occasion, now it wasn't the case last week, mind you, but on this occasion have been damaging and have actually taken the ball forward, have run from behind, have broken the line and created some great opportunities for Harry Mackay. And outside of the opening 12 or 15 minutes, Max King has had no good looks at football.
He can't get near it.
No. And any balls that have come in there have come straight to his opponent.
Yeah, and also in big numbers, sitting on top of his head. I always love to see, when you look at midfielders, how many times they actually get inside the front 50. And then on reflection, you've got to say, well, how many times do you stop or get the ball out of the back 50? But let's look at going inside the front 50. It's almost like you're going, what's going on? How can you pay? In fact, most of these blokes wouldn't get a game if there was an open crowd. They have to pay to get in. Honestly, they are that bad at the moment. They should be paying to sit in the grandstand. So the Saints have got to get their team playing as a team, not just a half a dozen who can break the game open, because Walsh will break the game open. Fisher will break the game open. Cripps with his hand pass will I know they missed Sinclair off the back line, but at the moment it's only Jones who's got the pace.
28 points the margin at half-time. You mentioned during the quarter, Mick, the backdrop to all this is the Carlton review, which is finished now, which is the unusual element of it. There's still 4 games to go in the season. The review's been turned in. So the question is, was last week's game against North Melbourne the last that we saw? And that's the last piece of evidence for Carlton as part of that review. Do these games actually count towards it? What does it all mean, I guess, in the broader picture? I think we'll obviously discuss a little more about that throughout the night as to whether these games are going to count or not towards whether they make certain decisions in the football department.
It'll almost be 15, 20 pages of information, and Clarkson goes in here on Monday and says, I'll take the job. That will be lost and we lost in file 13, which is a rubbish bin.
Better wait 6 or 7 weeks.
That's right. Thank you very much, but we didn't know this was going to happen.
Carlton by 28 points at the half. Carlton 10-1-61, St Kilda 5-3-33. Now, the latest from the ABC newsroom on the other side of it. Let's see what's happening at the Olympics with Ned Hall. That's all still to come in the second half here from Docklands. The Blue Baggers by 28 at the half. What's happening in the ABC newsroom?
Good evening, Rachel Hayter with ABC News. The Prime Minister has released the vaccination rates Australia needs to hit to stop lockdowns being needed to tackle coronavirus outbreaks. Stephen Schubert reports.
Scott Morrison says 70% of Australians will need to receive 2 vaccine shots before the country can move to the next phase of the National Recovery Plan. That would see lockdowns less likely but possible for future outbreaks. The Prime Minister says 80% would be needed to hit Phase C, where the fully vaccinated would be exempt from domestic travel restrictions and could also leave the country.
If you get vaccinated, there will be special rules that apply to you.
Just 18% of Australians over 16 have received 2 shots, but the Prime Minister says 70% is achievable by the end of the year.
The New South Wales Police Commissioner says a compliance check found a man who knew he had COVID-19 left his home to go to work on a building site. Commissioner Mick Fuller has defended his decision to bring in the Australian Defence Force to help with compliance checks, saying there are more than 2,000 properties they need to check on. He says one person doing the wrong thing can have a devastating impact on the spread of COVID.
A young man who was COVID positive was out of the house and he had gone to work on a building site. Now, that sort of behaviour is exactly the reason why we need to have strong health orders that are backed by law enforcement and defence.
ABC News.
Sammy J.
Gans in Barwon Heads.
Sammy, hi. Look, I'm just driving to work.
Yeah.
GIF is pronounced GIF.
What?
As in giraffe.
It's a GIF.
Well, actually, the gentleman who created them won an auspicious award, and his acceptance speech was simply, it's pronounced GIF.
Oh, I've got to revisit everything I even thought I knew, Jan. You drive safely.
Thanks, Sammy.
Thank you, Gan.
Breakfast with Sammy J. Weekdays from 5:30 on ABC Radio Melbourne.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Charlie Curnow in the pack, waiting at the back. Zach Fisher is a play on advantage. It is. He gives it off to Sam Walsh, who runs into an open goal. Bananas are through with the outside of his right boot, and he's got 2, Walsh. Silvani keeps it low. The delivery for Curnow. He leapt in the air. It was just over his head. Always then tries to snap. It's a bouncing ball. Does it sit here for Honey? He's going to handball off, and Matthew Kennedy has kicked it right on the goal line. Well, the Nunes kick was trying to find Walsh. Good spoil, and maybe to be able to finish it off is Zach Jones, and he does. A much-needed goal for St Kilda.
Mackay close to the man on the mark, kicks from just outside 50. What a finish. So sometimes these are the shaky ones for Harry. Right in front, 30 out, kicks the drop punt. There's no problems with that finish.
To Dean Kent. Just going to put it to the hot spot and ask him to run and jump. King does just that. Waiting at the back was Marshall, and he dribbles it through.
So after the bell for half-time, Tom Williamson pumps his fist. He threads it. 5 in the first term, 5 in the second. And Carlton are on tonight. They're rolling under the roof at the Docklands.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Sounds there of the opening half here at Docklands. The Blue Baggers lost to the 18th place team North Melbourne last week. They've come back out 6 days later and lead St Kilda, who are playing for a final spot, by 28 points at half-time. 10 goals, 161 Carlton. St Kilda 5-3-33 at half-time, so Carlton by 28 points. The round 21 fixture is out. Just moments ago, next Friday night, it's going to be the Western Bulldogs and Essendon here at Docklands. So the Dogs and the Bombers. The rest of the country, by the way, Melbourne and Victoria out of their 5th lockdown, but no crowds at the footy in round 20 or round 21. So eased restrictions is what we're going with for the time being, so there'll be no crowds at the footy next week. On Saturday afternoon, it's Richmond and North Melbourne at the MCG. Geelong will play GWS at Cardinia Park. Carlton will play Gold Coast here at Docklands. Next Saturday night, the two fixtures, West Coast and Melbourne at Perth Stadium, and the showdown, Adelaide and Port at Adelaide Oval. On Sunday, the three games. First of all, at York Park, the Magpies for the first time will play Hawthorn at York Park for premiership points. So that's the 2:10 game Eastern time next Sunday at York Park in Launceston. St Kilda will play Sydney here at Docklands, 3:20 game on the Sunday, and then Fremantle and the Brisbane Lions to complete the round at Perth Stadium. The Olympics, the Matildas are on at the moment. Ned Hall has been across all of it for us on Grandstand AFL. Ned, bring us up to date. What's happening on day 7 of competition?
Well, Corby, the Matildas are on course for a semi-final appearance. They're just about to go into the second period of extra time, and they're leading Great Britain by 3-2. But only just. They took the lead in the first half through Alana Kennedy. Great Britain scored twice in the second half through Ellen White. In the 89th minute, Sam Kerr scored the equaliser to send the match into extra time. Great Britain have had a penalty. It was saved by Australia. And then 18-year-old Mary Fowler has just scored to put Australia in front. They're 15 minutes away from making it into the last 4 of the Olympic football tournament and just about to kick off. Also in action right now, Australia's women's water polo players taking on Spain in the second quarter. They are trailing 7-6. And disappointing news from earlier this evening, Ash Barty and John Peers just missed out on a place in the gold medal match, beaten by the ROC pairing, as Australia have just scored again and gone 4-2 up, by the way, 18 seconds into the final period of extra time. Sam Kerr has just got a 4th goal for Australia, so a big step forward towards that semi-final. Going back to the tennis, Barty and Peers out to Pavlyuchenkova and Andrei Rublev of Russia, losing in the super tiebreak 13-11. So they go out of that competition. Also out, the defending gold medalists, Australia losing in the women's sevens quarterfinals to Fiji by 14 points to 12 at the Opals. They're in action later on this evening against China. Now, if you didn't catch up on this earlier on today, Australia has won gold medals number 9 and 10 today. Number 9, earlier on today, Emma McKeown in the pool in the 100-metre freestyle. Kate Campbell picking up the bronze there. The 10th gold medal hasn't officially been awarded yet, but Matt Wern is guaranteed gold in the laser class, the single solo dinghy. The 3rd consecutive Olympics that Australia has picked up the gold medal in that event. The final and the medal match on Sunday in that is worth double points, but regardless, wherever he finishes, he is guaranteed to win the gold medal. Now, back in the pool this evening, Emma McKeown and Kate Campbell, after their 100-metre efforts earlier today. In the 50 metres for women, Emma McKeown won her heat and broke the Olympic record. So not easing up this evening. Kate Campbell second in her heat, but does progress to the semi-final. No such luck for Cam McAvoy. He came 8th in his heat, didn't move through to the semi-finals in the men's event. And in the pool at the moment, Thomas Neal to be followed by Jack McLaughlin in the heats of the men's 1,500-metre freestyle. And rounding off the action in the pool tonight, the men's and women's 4x100 metre medley relay. Action has started on the track. Unfortunately, Australian women didn't advance in the 5,000 metres. Rose Davis, Jenny Blundell-Hart and Isabel Batt-Doyle. Patrick Tiernan, he runs tonight for Australia in the men's 10,000 metres. And just as I go back to you, I'll remind you, it's Australia 4, Great Britain 2, with about 12 and a half minutes left to play in the quarter-final of the women's football competition.
And Ned, just to back over that, that's not a monumental upset, but certainly an upset. Great Britain, from where they're positioned at the moment in the world rankings, for the Matildas to be, 4-2 up. They've got to navigate the next 13 minutes or so.
Yeah, it'd be a huge result for them. The results were a bit wobbly on the run into the tournament, but there seems to have been a plan all along, and the players have been very confident, but it would be a big upset to put out Great Britain. It is a combined British team, mostly English players. I think there's 2 Scottish, 1 Welsh in the English squad, but still a huge result because England have made great strides forward in the last few years.
It's a bit maybe like the rope-a-dope tactics, a little Muhammad Ali style, just lure everyone into a false sense of security and then come out and go whack when it's competition time. Ned, appreciate your time. Let us know if there's a full-time result.
Will do, certainly will.
Ned Hall with all the latest from Tokyo. The most gold medals, Cal, in a games for the Australians. You have to go back to Beijing where we won 14, and we've still got another week to go of competition.
I know. This is huge for the Matildas. 2-2 heading into extra time. Mary Fowler and then Sam Kerr. So a 4-2 lead over Great Britain with a few more minutes to go. I think we play the winner of Sweden and Japan. That would be Monday night at 9 p.m. and Canada will play the winner of the USA and the Netherlands in the other one. So all the big guns are there.
Hodgie, any update on Mark Murphy, the super sub for the Blues?
Yeah, well, both subs have been made during the half-time break. So Tom De Koning is the big one for the game. The only ruckman the Blues have is now out with that right pec injury. And so Mark Murphy comes in. And one that I didn't spot, guys, I must admit, I'm not sure if you did, but Dougal Howard has just walked up the middle race. He's in his civvies. He's got ice on the hamstring, so he is out of this game. And
wow.
Cooper Sharman comes in at half-time. So that's a dramatic backdrop to set the scene for the second half with Carlton to go into battle without a recognised ruckman.
That was very late in the piece, Dougal Howard. He was involved in some contests, even with 2-3 minutes to go in that quarter.
Carlton by 28 points on Grandstand AFL. You're with Kelly Underwood.
Hunter into the ruck for the Saints. He rises high. Marshall started in the goal square. Dow has it. He lost it. Hunter goes and gets it. Little give off to Zach Jones. Kicks over the head of Membry. And mopping up is Wiedering. He flicks his handball out wide to Honey, right up against the boundary line. He slides over it. A boundary throw in half forward for St Kilda. Ben King kicked 3 goals in the opening term at this end, matched up against Wiedering, and that matchup continues to start this third as it spins back into play. Hunter to Steele. Steele tried to do a little give and go with his teammate in Brad Crouch, but it went over the boundary, hemmed in against the boundary line. So another throw in under the closed roof. No fans in tonight. You heard Tim Hodges tell us earlier in the broadcast a total of just over 200 people here at the stadium as it spins back in. The handball from Billings into space. Walsh got there first. He got the handball over to Dow. And then Silvani. And now Sard faked one way and then goes straight down the middle. And taking the mark is Kennedy for the Blues.
It's got to be 50. If there's a protected zone rule, then you have to pay it when it's there. As much as we don't want it, should have been 50.
Kennedy turns it over, kicks it to Marshall, who goes long in the King direction over his head and Plowman. And Wiedering just whacks it back to Plowman, who kicks off the back flank to Cripps. And marks across half back to Carlton.
Well, they got no protection, King. He was alone 1v3, and of course they're going to clear that Carlton. So I don't know what the small blokes are doing with the Saints.
Cripps hands it to Plowman, kicks down the wing, straight to Hunter. Hand pass away to Steele. Saints back with it. Goes to King in a one-on-one with Wiedering. Wiedering spoils. Through the legs of Cripps. It'll sit okay, though, for Kennedy. Carlton regain possession. Hand pass to Walsh. Hand pass down the wing, and Hunter just clatters into Ed Kerner on the other direction. The ball spills out of play. And a throw-in on the City wing.
That was an old-school hospital handball by Sammy Walsh.
Get a few of those tomorrow. Linking up the lead.
Can't wait to get ramming with a few.
Carlton by 28 points, 2 minutes into this second half.
Spinning back in. Zach Jones, a little toe poke. Flicking over his head was Butler to half forward. King, quick hands. Gave it off to Crouch to Zach Jones. Good hustle and bustle, though, by Carlton, particularly by Walsh. Walsh is able to bunt it down, and then they pile on top. Walsh is still fighting hard in there. He was tackled, he claims, when he didn't have it. Sard gets it. Cripps. And a St Kilda player got into Cripps's back, puts him down, but still the Blues have it before the umpire eventually says taken high. It'll be a free kick to Carlton, coming back to Ed Kerno.
That's where the Blues have done so well, because when it goes one-on-one, they have been the masters for most of the game.
Kerno kicks up towards Murphy. And Murphy receives a free kick. Seb Ross took him illegally. So the sub has been activated. This is Mark Murphy in game number 298. He's got it on the City wing. He spears the pass to Dowell, who turns and goes. And Harry Mackay steams out and leaps to his right and takes a slips catch 40 metres out on a tightish angle.
Yeah, well, he's got a new opponent, and it's not going to make a lot of difference. In fact, he's got great hands. He just does things without any big flair. He just marks well, kicks well, presents well.
Good game for Paddy Dow so far.
So he's got
Really good
4. Here we go. The set, snap, shot, and does it clear hands right on the line? The goal umpire is going to have a chat to the field umpire here, claiming he touched it right down there on the last line with Hunter.
If that's not touched, that is so sloppy by St Kilda. Hunter coming with the flight of the ball as opposed to coming towards it off the fence. He would have a guaranteed touch if he'd been set up properly. Instead, that's a goal.
Yeah, I think you're right, Lingy. I think it's a goal as well. Hunter did touch it.
But over the line.
Over the line.
Yeah.
So
that is a goal.
Players are looking at the giant screen, aren't they, Lingy? And so Mackay has got a handful then. Harry Mackay kicks his 5th. It's met with silence. Still so eerie. We cannot get used to these noises here under the closed roof at Docklands. But Carlton, the story is they lead by 34 points. 11-1, 67. St Kilda 5-3, 33.
Whatever happened to the basics of footy, Mick, where you have your biggest bloke coming from the fence, jumping as high as he can at the footy to try and touch it.
And even if your teammate's there, knowing that you don't have to put your knee through him, you can jump over him and use him as a
bit of a launch.
Yeah.
And Ned Hall is across what's happening in the Olympics. The Matildas are on the field at the moment in extra time. Ned, what's the latest?
Unfortunately, Great Britain has scored a goal. It's 4-3 with 3 minutes to go, so not long left, but the game is still alive. 4-3, the Matildas are leaving for a place in the semi-finals.
Thanks, Ned. 5 minutes into the third here. Carlton by a new game high, 34 points. The Saints, had they won tonight, they'd be in the 8 this evening. Crooked bounce in the middle, so they'll recall it.
And if the Blues win, they're going to be equal 9th, Corbin, with Essendon, Richmond, Fremantle, St Kilda and any other team you want to throw in there at the moment. No one wants 8th.
No one wants 8th. No one wants 7th has just been hung on to, so 8th is just remarkable. And what it does tell you, 5th side's got an easy one in the first week of the finals.
Hunter palms it down in the middle. It favours Cripps, though. Gives it off to Kennedy. Hand pass to Silvani again. The Blues walk it out the middle. Links up through Sard to Walsh. Kicks inside 50 and Dow marks. And Paddy Dow 40 out straight in front. And an easy clearance again results in another quick shot at goal for Carlton.
Paddy Dow continues to take some really good steps forward this season. He's not leaping over anyone to become one of the best mids. I'm not saying anything like that, but just taking some really important steps in his progression as an AFL player up to game number 56 and starting to get some confidence.
So the 4th year Blue, high pick, Paddy Dow loves it off the boot. And Carlton are absolutely giving it to the Saints. All of a sudden, it's 40 points. 7 minutes into the third term. And the support from his teammates is just about every Carlton player on the ground runs to Paddy Dow. Carlton 12-1, St Kilda stuck on 5-3. 7 played third term.
I don't know, Lingy, how they could possibly get back in this game the way they're playing, because at no division is actually on top. The back line is under pressure and coughing up goals. Their midfield is getting swamped and actually destroyed. Really, their midfield's been destroyed. And their forward line has just been, well, it just hasn't had good, clean ball going there and doesn't give them a chance.
Tim Hodges on the boundary.
Well, their best chance of scoring is Max King, and he's currently come to the bench, which is staggering. 7 minutes into the first term, it's barely been inside forward 50, and he's come for a breather.
Carlton staring at its biggest win, maybe, for the year. Their biggest one so far, 45 points. Fremantle here in round 3. Current margin is 40, and we've gone 7 minutes in this third term. So Silvani took it out of the centre, but it's coming back. It'll be a free kick to Cripps against Steele. So the two captains. Cripps standing on the edge of the centre circle. Does he go long or does he go short? He keeps it low. He sees something he likes, and a free kick.
Yeah,
it's
free
going
kick
to
the
Carlton.
Blues. Oh, that was so clumsy.
Against Hunter Clark, was it, Lingy?
Yeah, just leant over the top and just either copped him high or
His
a
arm
hold.
over-
Yeah, just
his arm right over it.
Right over the top.
Yeah, just no need.
Umpire's going to pay that every day of the week.
And it's Honey that's got the free kick. Josh Honey, who's yet to kick a goal in his AFL career. He's been in good goal-kicking form, actually. 14 goals from his 8 VFL games this year. Playing just his 3rd AFL game tonight. So a big moment for the 19-year-old Josh Honey directly in front. He celebrates before it even crosses the line. And listen to the roar from the Blues teammates. They've come from all over, and Carlton is on a high. A 46-point lead here at Docklands. 13-1, 79. St Kilda 5-3, 33. Everything they've touched tonight, the Blues, has turned a goal.
Well, it's been dominant from the middle of the ground again, as you were saying, Nick, with the clearances, and that's surprising given their ruckman right now continues to be Jack Silvani. Forward line's dangerous, but those St Kilda defenders, wow.
13 to 29, Lingy. Stats. Possession rate at the moment is 13,
this quarter.
29 this quarter. The Saints have had 4 kicks, and we've gone effectively nearly 5 minutes of actual play. So this tells me they're not desperate, and it's almost like they're conceding.
Marshall wins the hit out back in the middle. Steele for the Saints. Hand pass to Dunstan. Out to Crouch. Has it on the broadcast wing. Kicks inside 50. In a tangle, Hunter and also Jones close to the boundary line. There's Sharman, first possession. Hand pass away to Kent. Links up with Steele. Back to Butler at half forward. Centering kick. Not a good one for Clark. Spills front and centre to Higgins. Hand pass away to Butler. Kicks outside of the right boot. And it just pitches in front of the behind post and out of play. Thumps into the base of the post, so a throw in forward pocket for St Kilda. 46 points. The same side that lost to the 18th place Roos last Saturday now leads St Kilda by 46 from the throw-in. Steele's tackled. Pack forms around him. Umpire lets them go. Thought he was going to chuck it up. He doesn't. It comes out the back door to Burns. Hand pass over his shoulder to Higgins. Running out of room and eventually gives it to Clark, who is out of bounds. And a throw in 40 out from St Kilda's goal.
So Paul Hunter doing the ruck work here again. Looks like Liam Jones is going to come up and take it with him. Well, at least that's a big body. So maybe the Saints mids and small forwards can't quite get on the bolt as much. So that's clever using Liam Jones there.
Boundary throw in. Hunter still gets his kick away just around the corner. Higgins couldn't control it. Sard, his direct opponent's able to run onto it with ease and then kick from one side of the goal square to the other to Stocker. Liam Stocker in the back pocket.
Can't go quick because the Saints are set up pretty well behind the ball here, but Harry Mackay working hard.
And so too is Ed Curnow with a long lead. Couldn't take the mark. Good work by O'Brien, although he's hit heavily. Crouch gets it and delivers beautifully right down low. And taking the mark on the end of a long lead was the sub who's just come on in Sharman.
That was brilliant by Hunter Clark.
Yeah.
Talking about, Mick, when you get the opportunity to really tackle and hit for keeps completely fairly, that tackle that he nailed Lockie O'Brien with was perfection. Spilt the ball free and they get a shot at goal.
Well, he's had to do the hard
but he's come off that
times. Cooper Sharman, he's lining up for his first goal in AFL footy. He was a sub last week. He was a sub this week. And as soon as he's activated, he's kicking a major. So the Saints boys get around him. And that's a wonderful individual moment to remember for Cooper Sharman by a Baldwin and in the SANFL as well. But Carlton still lead it by 40. 13-1-79 to 6-3-39 after 12 minutes in the third term. Matilda's won, Corbin. They're into the semi.
Well, listen, you watched the game. You have been watching that game all night, and you've punched my leg 4 times on their poor goal. You've punched my arm 3 times on the English goal. I'm glad the game's over.
Let's get to Ned Hall for the details, Ned.
Can I just say about Sharman, I don't know how he's going to go because he's a young man, but the last time I saw the Saints bring on a sub, he's going to be a very, very good player, and I just reckon the Saints have got some good young kids coming through. They've just got to back it up with some of these senior players putting a little bit more pressure on
We'll get to Ned Hall in just a moment. In fact, we're going to get a repeat the centre bounce. So, Ned, what are the details?
Well, exactly. Australia through to the last 4 of the competition, and they will meet the winner of Sweden and Japan, holding on in the end, a 4-3 victory against Great Britain. 2 goals in extra time from Sam Kerr. The difference between the two sides, and that saved penalty as well by Tegan Micah. Outstanding performance from Australia, and they'll meet, yes, Sweden or Japan, and that match will be played on Monday evening.
Thanks, Ned. More from you throughout the night. Carlton deep inside their forward 50 and a ball up. Forward pocket for the Blue Baggers. 40-point lead for Carlton. Goals to Sharman and Honey, so a couple of lads kicking their first goal in AFL footy in this quarter. Oh, he's top of the goal square trying to shark one. Socked away by Connolly to Highmore. He's pushed off his kick. Invites Martin in for the Blues. Hand pass to Walsh. Walsh is snapping. Walsh has 3. For the first time in his career, Sam Walsh with 3 on the same night. 58 games in. He continues to set a new high watermark. Sam Walsh with Carlton's 14th. They're 14-185. St Kilda 6-3-39. It's Carlton again by 46 points midway through the third.
Well, nearly a copy of the goal he kicked in the first quarter, Mick. The out-the-back feed. He's so smart. He just held his width away from where all the mess was. St Kilda players sucked in, leaving him out the back. Brett Ratton's frustration in the box is very evident, and he must be thinking, how the hell do my players not know that Sam Walsh is an outstanding footballer and you do not give him that much time and space in forward 50?
Well, I'm telling you right now, Lingy, watching Saints, watching sides that have been trying to get into the 8, this sort of stuff, their mids are unaccountable, and they just pay us a massive price.
So 5 of the last 6 again to the Blues, and the Blues are breaking out of the centre. It was Fisher over the head of Mackay, and he's got a free. Harry Mackay back in the team. He's won a free directly in front. He was on a long lead. Fisher tried to hit him up, and he is lining up for goal number 6.
Yeah, he'll end up with 10 today. We've got this is only halfway through this quarter, and he's got a full quarter in front, and Carlton are dominating the middle so well that this bloke only needs those chances.
He kicked 2 in the first quarter, 2 in the second. And this is second in the third term. Directly in front, the left footer with a traditional approach. And that's when he misses them, Lingy. He should have gone the old set shot snap.
Yeah, well, Cal Wilkie's giving up 13 centimetres and 17 kilograms.
Yes. And a midfielder that kicks the ball to him.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter with the size these days. It's what the product is in front of you. And I don't care who you are, what you are. If you don't put pressure on and try to protect your teammates, and this is where when you sit down at a quarter time, 3/4 time, you ask the question, what can I do to help my teammate?
Carlton by 47 points. They work it up to the wing, the Saints, but Wiedering whacks it out of play. So a throw-in right on halfway. We all love Sam Walsh, Lingy, and I love how much he loves a goal. Whenever he kicks one, he's always got a celebration. And after his third, going with the Carmelo Anthony sort of celebration that he does for hitting a 3-ball in the NBA, that's his version of it with 3 on the same night, the 21-year-old. The boundary throw-in, Kennedy gets a hand pass out to Murphy, goes wide by hand to Ed Curnow, hangs it inside the boundary line, kicks as he's being tackled, straight to Ben Long. Takes the intercept mark on half-back.
Did you watch the NBA draft today, Cobb?
I saw Josh Giddey go very high.
Great news. Pick number 6. OKC, I think it was.
Yeah, they got a bit of pain ahead of them, so this could be a long while, but well done to Josh Giddey, lad from Melbourne, picked up today, picked 6 in the NBA draft. Saints have worked it all the way up to half-back, so here's Jack Higgins, first game back. He missed the last 3.
Well, Corbin, you said work the ball all the way up to half-back. It actually was on this side of the ground halfway, and Long had the ball, did not look forward one little bit. So in other words, King then stands by himself and doesn't know what happens. They go all the way back, but they don't play chess, they play checkers, and as a consequence, Carlton resurrect the footy.
Yep, because it's Lockie Plowman that just cruises away. His kick was a little casual as well. It's gone straight to the opposition. Burns has got it, flicks it wide. City wing where Clark marks in front of Sard.
They're not trusting their forwards now. They're going so far sideways.
Oh, short back to Burns. Had to juggle the mark. Handballs to Membry. And then Membry will deliver it inside 50, looking for Steele, who was at the back. It might sit here for Butler. Can he keep it in play? That might be out of bounds on the 4 off Williamson.
Just off, I think, above the net. Just, Cal.
So it'll be a boundary throw in instead.
Yeah, but it's still wide and
it's hard to watch, isn't it, when you think Kilda in a world of pain at the moment. Hunter with the ruck work, tried to dab it down to Dunstan. He couldn't get a kick or shot on goal at all, and then Butler's tackled to the ground.
Seb Ross, no stats. None whatsoever this quarter. He's a midfielder.
Tossed in the air. Umpire says over the shoulder, free kick to Jack Silvani. Little wrestle. Williamson and Butler want to go on with it. Butler with the frustrations, and now Plowman comes in and pushes him away.
I can't believe that Silvani will get a free... He earned a free kick, but a ruckman against a half forward and you give away a free kick, it is just...
It's incredible, isn't it?
Well, it's dumb.
Do you think Jack Silvani's ever played in this ruck position in his career?
You get away with it in this comp because the circles are so... Unless you've got a jumping ruck like a Paddy Ryder. I watched Silvani actually out-ruck Grundy a couple of weeks ago.
Yep. It's amazing what he's doing, and it's great to see him play some good footy. He's kicked a goal tonight. And that lead by Carlton is 47 points. We've still got 9 minutes to play in this third quarter. A long way to go for the Saints.
Ross at high half forward to Higgins, and Higgins inside 50 wanted King. Liam Jones takes the intercept mark. Last line of defence for Carlton. As across the goal face to Wiedering in the back pocket. 47 points as we tick into time on in this third term. Short kicking game for the Blues to Newman, to Sard. Still at centre half back, and then takes on Higgins on the mark. Takes on Sharman as he comes wide with the kick. And here's Walsh. What a night he's had again.
Oh, corridor, middle of the ground, wide open for the Blues. He doesn't take it.
He kicks down the wing. Charlie Curnow in a tangle with Highmore. No whistle on the play. Highmore wins it. Hand pass to Membry, away to Long, and he cuts back inboard to Zach Jones. Lays off the hand pass to Membry. He's at centre half back, kicks to the open side of the ground. And Steele takes the mark. Defensive side of the logo, City wing. Running past Ross, gives him the hand pass. Feeds it forward to Hill. Sweeping hand pass to Butler. Trying to get away from Plowman. Hand pass under pressure. Puts Higgins under the pump. He coughs it up. Hand pass to Liam Jones. The Blues back down the City wing. That kicks a turnover. Wilkie for the Saints.
And it's Jones who's got it just outside. Gives it back to Steele, who's running past. Oh, he's got... Doesn't want to go left, doesn't want to go right. He handballs backwards to Brad Hill, who goes short to Burns, doesn't go the required distance, so he has to zig, then zag, and then kick. And hit up his teammate Connolly.
Yeah, he's good kick, Connolly. Go close here. That kick went 15 metres. We've seen them go 8 and they pay them. It's quite extraordinary how inconsistent umpires are with that distance. But nonetheless, it just shows you how St Kilda have to score. It goes around and around until finally they may find someone. At the moment, they're just...
They found someone in the 19-year-old from Moe, Leo Connolly, who's brought some energy.
Yes, they have.
He's 6 games so far. Distance shouldn't be a problem. What about the accuracy? It is an issue. He hangs it out to the left. Just the 1 goal so far for Leo Connolly in his 6 games. So Carlton by 46 points. 22 gone in the third term.
5 already for Harry Mackay. Max King kicks 3 in the first, really 17 minutes of the night. Sard goes on a run from the kick out long to the wing, and Martin takes the mark.
Oh, they paid a hold.
Oh, that's a good decision. Now, that is a really good decision because he was held by Eddie Curnow off the ball. I was wondering whether he felt bad about... I'm talking about Webster here, who really got the free kick and deservedly got the free kick.
Goes short to Crouch between wing and half forward for the Saints. Kicks into the pocket. King again. Eventually, the footy comes to him. Was held out of it in the marking contest. Then a centering ball across the forward line. Steele flies, can't mark. Steele follows up. Snaps goalward, misses. Out to the left, behind. So St Kilda 6-5. Carlton 14-2. 23 played in the third. It's Carlton by 45 points.
So Wiedering to Sard, and then Sard to Martin. Should have been an easy mark for him in the end, but it's taken by Webster, and Webster blazes away. There's no one there. Wiedering uncontested. mark in the goal square, and instead he goes the other side now by Ed Curnow and then Nunes. This is all by foot. Silvani's got some space on the City side. It was a wobbly kick, really making Owies work for it. Back to Williamson it was, and now a mark uncontested by Paddy Dow. He's going to go long and strong in the Mackay direction. Coming back bravely there was Membry. And Mackay denied the mark because of the pressure being applied. So St Kilda can build here. Oh, this sat up there for an anxious moment, allowed Newman to come in and clutter into the head of Jack Steele, but still strong enough to take the mark in the air.
Sorry, Kel, that's Harry Mackay still down behind play from that last marking contest. I thought it was frontal contact.
Yeah, well, Membry came back really strong, didn't he?
And I thought it hadn't turned his head to look to the footy. Well, it should have been a free kick.
So St Kilda was trying to move it on the outer side of the ground before Nunes spoils it over the boundary line. And Harry Mackay down there in the arms of the trainers. He's got his left thigh heavily strapped. He missed last week with a toe injury. He's kicked 5 already tonight, and Tim Hodges, he looks like he's jogging your way.
He is, Kel. Even David Teague on Wednesday had real doubt. Oh, he's just brushed the trainer off, and I think he's going to stay out there. You think, no, the ball's not coming, so he is.
Oh, no, he's a chance to get a kick here. I would be staying there
he's staying out there. He wants number 6.
So Dunstan's kick inside 50, chopped off by O'Brien, gives it to Wiedering, kicks wide to Martin.
And the replay, he should have definitely got a free kick.
Yep. Martin at left half-back, short to O'Brien. So Mackay's still out there in those bright yellow boots, having kicked 5 already. And he is staying out there as he goes short to Walsh O'Brien, and Walsh back inboard to Martin. Carlton controlling the footy. St Kilda in this quarter, 11 inside 50s for 1 goal. As Martin goes back to Plowman out to the opposite back flank to Newman, short kick to Cripps. Just maintaining possession in their defensive half, Carlton, as Cripps comes back to Newman. Newman short to Walsh. Possession 9 of the quarter for Sam Walsh.
Love his work rate. He's just always looking to stay in the game. I know it's just it's a little thing. He just always wants the footy in his hands.
He goes short to Sard. Sard to Charlie Kerner on a one-on-one. Highmore spoils. Spills down to Connolly. Hand pass off half-back. Back to Highmore. Saints in their defensive 50. Gives it to Zach Jones. Short kick to Burns. Lays a hand pass away to Bradley Hill, who's off and running. Kicks down to Sharman. And Sharman marks in front of Sard between wing and half forward. He's got King deep, one out in the cage. He doesn't go to him. Sharman pokes the pass inside 50. Wanted Kent. And it hung in the air, and Nick Newman punches it into the fence. So a boundary throw in, 40 out from the Saints goal.
Well, King is really frustrated, but he's creating his own frustration. He's just now calling the ball to go in long instead of looking for the spaces like he did in the first quarter. Now, he had plenty of room and plenty of time to work the spaces. He's just become disillusioned, I'd say.
So boundary throw in. Sharman in the ruck who punched it down. Now it comes to Seb Ross right up against the boundary line. Corralling him is O'Brien. He squeezes his kick away into the pocket. Off hands. Here's a chance for the first gamer. I was going to say he's a second gamer, but he gets an unkind bounce, Sharman. And a behind. So 1-1 for the late inclusion, or the substitute, I should say, Cooper Sharman. On debut last week, spent the whole game on the bench. But he's getting his first run at it tonight.
It came in for Dougal Howard, a hamstring right on the stroke of half-time. Stocker goes long with that one-on-one. Mackay and Wilkie spills down St Kilda's way. Crouch to Higgins, to Ross, all by hand. To Marshall in the middle of the ground, gives it to Hill. Newman's on him. He's on him with the tackle. Hand pass to his teammate under the pump there. Crouch, he's locked up. Didn't try and get rid of it, holding the ball.
Great pressure, Carlton. Outstanding. Closed it down as soon as they could, and that'll be 50.
Oh, no. Dean Kent in the protected zone, and now Paddy Cripps will be within scoring distance here, Lingy. He'll be about 40 out directly in front.
So many players are trying this now. So that was Adam Sard flying, looking for the handball receive, but flying. And then at the last second, splitting to one side, forcing Dean Kent to run the other side. But numerous times it's happened. They're all just trying to milk a 50 out of it.
That's it, yeah.
And it's clever play. The rules there in place for them to do it. I don't like that being why they end up with a 50.
No, not at all. And it's too harsh, isn't it?
Yeah.
50-metre penalty.
Gee, it's a good 50 as well. The man on the mark's about 30 metres out from the Carlton goal line.
It actually happened right in front of us, didn't it, really?
So here's Paddy Cripps. from right in front. The skipper of the Carlton Football Club skips in. He shoots from right in front. Loved it straight off the boot, and they've got 5 in each quarter, Carlton. 15 for the night. They move to 15-2-92. St Kilda stuck on 6-6-42. And it's Carlton by a new game high, 50 points. The half 100 up on the margin. 29 played third term.
And that's 8 times inside the front 50, I'm thinking, if I can read that right over your shoulder there, Corbin. So that is remarkable. They've gone 5 goals from 9 entrances in the second quarter. They scored 5 from 14 in the first quarter. Now they've scored 5 from 8. Now that tells you a lot about the pressure, 1, outside the front 50, and 2, how easy it is to score inside the front 50. So there's a disconnect virtually all the way around the ground by the Saints. And I don't know about you, Lingy, but I just see a real lack of interest. This would be one of the most disappointing displays I've seen of the Saints.
Yep. Struggling to keep their head above water here, St Kilda. Marshall again in the ruck, but breaking out of the centre is Sam Walsh, although Marshall was able to smother his handball, give it off to Long. Long gave it to Dunstan. Over the top, he's got it. This is Kent. Kent maybe the extra handball too long, put Butler under the pump. He squeezes his kick and Membry marks. A diving mark directly in front. It wasn't pretty, but it was effective, and Membry will go back and line up for his first goal of the night.
They've been better, St Kilda, in the back end of the season. Remember, Mick started the year, they had those games where they really rolled over. The 75-point loss to Essendon, 86 to Richmond, 54 to Port, and 111 to the Western Bulldogs in the first 10 games. So when they got beat the Saints early in the season, they were absolutely getting rolled over.
So Tim Membry, he's kicked 23-23 from his 17 games so far this year to get ahead of the ledger and give them something to get excited about, although there's not too many celebrations there. It was straight as an arrow, his kick. Membry with his first, lacklustre low 5s to celebrate, and it's Carlton by 44. The Saints with their 7th, 7-6-48. Carlton 15-2-92.
They finally got a centre clearance.
Yeah.
And got some momentum from that centre clearance and a nice little kick inside to set up the goal for Tim Membry. And go back to the middle. When I look at that midfield, Brett Ratton and his team, they've got to find a way that can be a really damaging midfield. Now, Luke Dunstan, yes, he's built a bit into this season. Brad Crouch, what's he going to do? Is he going to be your in and under player? So therefore, you're going to have to complement him with high-quality outside players. Jack Steele's a terrific player. Seb Ross is now out on a wing. Couldn't do the job on Sam Walsh. Brad Hill's now off the half-back flank. He's no longer a wing. What is that St Kilda midfield? They're the big questions I'm going to want answered from the Saints over the remainder of this year. What is that midfield?
Marshall palms it straight down to Dunstan. Hand pass away to Crouch. Clean break for the Saints. Kicks the half forward. Trying to claim the mark. Kent is going to be given it. Juggled attempt. Stocker tried to pick his pocket, so Kent takes it 70 out. Loads up long to the top of the goal square. King backed him back. Can't take the pack mark. Spills to Wiedering. He's gang tackled, taken to ground.
Just on that one of King, he stood in front of the pack and put his body backwards. He's one of the very few players who can do that and still be in the contest because he stretches high.
In front of the behind post, Marshall palms it down. Butler sockers it through. Some classy footwork from Dan Butler.
I'm thinking touch though, Corbs. I reckon that's what, there's going to be a goal review.
So, and we're going up to the arc. The ruling is a behind, Lingy. That's good from you on the naked eye. Butler trying to soccer it through, so the call is touched on the way through. We're going to need conclusive evidence to overturn that.
Might even be touched by Big
teammate
King, teammate, and maybe Sard on the way through. But
does it come off the hip of Max King?
Yeah, that's what I thought, Cool.
No, I don't think it comes off his hip because his hand's in front of his hip. It's either come off his thumb, maybe. I can't see it hitting Sard.
I don't think there's conclusive evidence.
So
we can see the ball make contact with the St Kilda player's left hand before crossing the back of the goal line.
Could be in the arc, Mick. It's very, very quick reaction straight off the thumb. We're getting further looks at it now, so that's a touch ball. It's a minor score. Confirmation behind. A 7-7 St Kilda, Carlton 15-2. Incredibly efficient. The Blues by 43 points, approaching three-quarter time.
As Asadi goes long, Mackay rather is going to set himself. He got nudged out of it. Silvani's handballed straight to Ross, and then Ross kicking around the corner. A bouncing ball. Dow piles onto it. They pile onto him. Still the Blues get a kick away. It'll land right on the Docklands wing. Marshall took the mark.
That's free kick for Hull.
Hill again. I mean, why would you kill Hill on Cripps? It's only going to end up in tears. That's all it can end up in.
It might end up in tears. Still, there's a quarter to go for Saints fans, and it looks like there's more pain to come. It's Carlton by 43 points at the last change. 15-92 to St Kilda 7-7-49. They kicked 5 in the first, the Blues, to lead by 12 points. At quarter time, they kicked another 5 in the second to lead by 28 points, and another 5 in the third to blow that margin out to 43 points. Sam Walsh has been everywhere and in everything. He's kicked 3. Mackay back into the team has kicked 5. And for the Saints, Max King kicked the first 3 for St Kilda in that opening term. Otherwise, they're all individual goal kickers. So the Blues by 43 points.
The news out of Tokyo, a win for the Matildas, 4-3 over Great Britain. So they're through to the final 4. They'll play in a semi-final and be guaranteed to play for a medal at some stage for the remainder of the women's football tournament over in Tokyo, day 7 of competition at the Games. Three-quarter time here, Carlton by 43 points. They did lead by as many as 50 on ABC Radio, News Radio and Sport Digital. This is Grandstand AFL.
What do you think makes someone an Australian of the Year?
It's people who show courage, sacrifice and kindness.
Now's the time to reflect
on your community and who you admire.
Now's the time to respect
by nominating and acknowledging them.
Now's the time to celebrate
their story, their contribution and their generosity.
I'm Hamish McDonald, and I'd love you to nominate your inspirational Australian by the 31st of July at australianoftheyear.org.au.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Dow who turns and goes, and Harry Mackay steams out and leaps to his right and takes a slips catch 40 metres out on a tightish angle. So he's got 4. Here we go. The set, snap, shot, and does it clear hands right on the line. The goal umpire is going to have a chat to the field umpire here. I think it's a goal as well. Hunter did touch it.
But over the line.
Over the line. Yeah. So Mackay has got a handful then.
Kennedy, hand pass to Silvani again. The Blues walking out the middle. Links up through Saab to Walsh. Kicks inside 50 and Dow marks. To the 4th-year Blue. High pick. Paddy Dow loves it off the boot. And Carlton are absolutely giving it to the Saints.
So a big moment for the 19-year-old Josh Honey directly in front. He celebrates before it even crosses the line. Cooper Sharman, he's lining up for his first goal in AFL footy. He was a sub last week. He was a sub this week. And as soon as he's activated, he's kicking a major.
Connolly to Highmore. He's pushed off his kick. Invites Martin in for the Blues. Hand pass to Walsh. Walsh is snapping. Walsh has 3. So here's Paddy Cripps from right in front. The skipper of the Carlton Football Club skips in. He shoots from right in front, lofts it straight off the boot, and they've got 5 in each quarter, Carlton.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
There were 3 lead changes in the first 20 minutes of the game tonight, and from that point on, it has been all Carlton. St Kilda led by 5 points at the 18-minute mark of the opening quarter. But from that point on, St Kilda have kicked only 4 goals. Carlton have kicked 13. The Blues with 5 in each term. They lead 15-2 over St Kilda, 7-7. The Blue Baggers by 43 points. Mick Malthouse, Cameron Ling through 3 quarters.
Just a super efficient performance by the Blues again. When they get through, they look dangerous and they scored well. They're winning well out of the middle of the ground considering they don't have a ruckman. Sorry, that might be disrespecting Jack Silvani the way he's going at the moment. But the astonishing thing for St Kilda is just how, apart from maybe the last 3 minutes, 4 minutes, how stagnant and slow they looked. And they've only managed to get the ball inside their forward 50 33 times. So as excited as we are about Max King and his future and kicking 3 early goals, Mick, when the ball comes in only 33 times and as slowly and as badly as that, good luck. You're not going to have too many good games when it's coming down like that. But for Carlton, very, very impressive.
Yeah. Well, they have, Lingy, but as I said, from 9th, or let's go, 7th down to about 12th or 13th, you just have a look at it and you think, it's a week in, week out, and you've got no idea how to pick a winner because it's all about attitude. It's who gets on top, it's who falls over. Paddy Ryder is one bloke that's been a constant with St Kilda all year. He's generally very good. I know Jack Steele's not too bad, but he's been shown up tonight by Walsh, and I don't care how many stats he's had because Walsh just makes his count. I just can't. I know Sinclair's out of the side, and I know that Webster's had a shocker, but there's absolutely no run. And if you don't have run, King is virtually mobbed by some very, very good footballs. The midfield of Carlton have simply and utterly destroyed, and I don't mean by how many times you got in front 50, because it's not a lot of times, but by being back and helping out the back half and coming forward.
Yeah, it's hard to watch for Saints fans. There's no rhythm, timing, connection at all in their movement. Watching the huddles at three-quarter time down at ground level was Tim Hodges. Hodgie.
Kel or Mick, is it okay to cheer for a coach to lose his mind or his marbles at three-quarter time? Because I was sort of hoping and rooting for Brett Ratton to go berserk there. He really didn't. It looked like he was asking a lot of questions of his players. The arms were out, sort of as if to say, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? So it was a short spray, and then he left them be. Tremendously frustrated coach. Just recapping the injuries, Kel. Dougal Howard has done a left hamstring, and he might be just about done for season 2021. It looks like a bad one. Tom De Koning is the other one for Carlton. A right pec injury. He was in a hell of a lot of pain. He still hasn't come up and sat on the bench, so I imagine he's down in the rooms or maybe even off for scans at hospital. And Harry McKay, we did watch him for a lot of that third term, left strapping heavily on his thigh. He is back out there, though, for the final term.
Well, Tim, just on that, are you allowed to strangle blokes when there's no one in the crowd?
Go for it.
No. Well, there'll be a dozen of them.
43 points is the margin. It's Carlton's lead as we head into the final term.
Who was the player that you most wanted to do that to, Mick?
Don't give me a target tonight, Kel. That's you know exactly who it is.
Oh, no.
Who would it be?
No, not out of here. That you coached.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. What's a dozen on? I guess I've coached for 30 years. It'd be at least one a year, so I'll halve that. So let's go 15.
Daisy Thomas sitting next to us in the commentary box. I knew it wouldn't be here.
Favourite.
Yeah.
No, I give him a hug.
Saints eventually get it out the middle as Kent Happ pass to Zach Jones to Higgins. He's drilled in the tackle. And a free kick against Sard for the tackle into the back of Jack Higgins. So a quarter to come for the Saints. They show a bit of fight. Some heavy defeats in the front half of the year. Higgins down to half forward, out the back, a chance for King. Runs back onto it, and then almost threw it out, and he did. Pinged holding the ball, a free kick for Carlton. Nevertheless, it'll come back to Nick Newman at centre-half back for the Blues. So Carlton by 43, 1 minute into the final term.
I reckon Hill's been moved forward. That's about the only move I can see that the Saints have made.
Newman kicked it out to the broadcast wing where Charlie Curnow was there. He got his hand to it. Newman was able to swoop onto it and kick it to half forward. Jack Ross does well. Get around a couple, Seb Ross rather, and goes short. And Rowan takes the mark, but we've only got it in front of the Docklands wing here. Marshall, Silvani, good smother on the Marshall kick. He's been in everything, Jack, tonight. He's been terrific. Trying to carry the load with no De Koning out there. Charlie Curnow with the kick to half forward. And it goes over the boundary line. Charlie Curnow with the one goal. Hasn't had too many touches so far this evening, just the 5, but one goal from about 60 metres out with his first kick of the night. Great to have him back for Blues fans.
Question off the SMS from Rob about Josh Honey and his sporting pedigree. I'll get to that from the boundary throw in. Nunes, hurried kick forward. Ross stands in front of Fisher. Can't mark, but comes up with it for the Saints. Hand pass out to Steele. He goes back to Highmore in the defensive 50. Centering kick to Marshall, who marks at half back. So Saints trying to get some run going. Hand pass to Ross, gives it to Hill. Tackled, dispossessed, holding the ball. And Tom Williamson will get the free centre half forward for Carlton.
Well, there's a player that just, when he got tackled, he just put the ball straight to the ground. When you get hit like that with a tackle, you've got generally one arm free. You've got to be able to break the tackle or use it as a battering ramp or do something to disrupt the bloke who's got his arms around you, not just drop the ball.
Tom Williamson, one of 7 left-footers in the team tonight for Carlton. Seen big Harry Mackay star already with 5 in the first 3 quarters. Nice long run-up as well for Tom Williamson. Usually find him down in defence. Kicked his first goal of the year earlier tonight. He looks for the extra distance. He bangs through a cannon. What a way to start the final term. Tom Williamson with his 2nd for the night. And Carlton's lead continues to grow. It's back to 49 points Carlton's way. 3 played final term. And Rob off the SMS says, Josh Honey, is he the son of an Olympian? Is that correct? His dad, Neil, won a bronze medal for pole vaulting at the Commonwealth Games in '86. And his mum, Di, actually represented the Australian Diamond. So nice sporting pedigree for Josh Honey.
I'd say so.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Tim Hodges on the boundary.
I'm just watching Hunter Clark. The St Kilda doctor has been out to him, and I think he's just watching whether he's going to send him off. They were really worried about him. It's his first game back, you might remember, since that badly broken jaw and the David McKay bump up in Cairns before their bye. He was just involved in a really heavy bump before, which I think rattled his cage again. But no, the physio's just running off now, giving the thumbs up, so he's okay. So that was a real concern there for 20 seconds.
Timmy, that was a good pickup. This contest over here, he was worried about that for straight after that Hunter Clark. I'm not surprised the doctor went out and checked him out.
Saints win it out of the centre through Jack Steele. He's able to hit up Crouch and then getting a little bit of separation on his opponent there was the youngster, the new kid in Sharman, who's shown a little bit.
He has, and remarkably, there's nothing happening around him to give him an opportunity to say, have a shot or find me.
Well, he's right up against the boundary line, isn't he?
Well, there's absolutely no movement by the Saints.
He's good size, 193 centimetres.
He's got a nice leap on him as well. Got a bit of separation on Wiedering. So right foot, this will test him. He's already kicked one since he came on, but he's put that one out of bounds on the full. So he's got a major, he's got a behind, and an out of bounds on the full for Sharman. Came in for Dougal Howard, who's injured his left hamstring. Mark Murphy started the sub. He's out there in game number 298.
Newman goes on a run, and then a long kick to Harry Mackay. Takes the mark in front of Wilkie. Defensive side of the wing. Kicks up into the front half for the Blues. Off the hands of Martin. Spills to Murphy. Tackled immediately to ground, and a ball up. 60 out from Carlton's goal. Just on Sharman too. Mid-season draft pickup, which I've seen a few success stories out of there. So he was taken midway through 2020. And he made his debut last week, as we touched on, as Dow emerges from the stoppage with a footy. His kick smothered, rolls inside the forward 50. Oh, he extracts it, hands it out towards Mackay. He's kicked goalward, only as far as Ross, who's the goalkeeper back top of the defensive goal square for St Kilda. He goes to Butler, and Butler wide out to Burns, who marks at half-back for the Saints.
Oh, wheels around and absolutely shanks it. It sums up their night. St Kilda straight to Cripps. Cripps to Curnow. Curnow to Zach Fisher. Steps inside one. Goes left, goes right. He's confused. He handballs it to centre half forward where Kennedy's got it. And Kennedy was a terrible kick as well. Scrappy passage of play all round, and there's some tired bodies out there at the moment. Don't play that one again.
Let me help Zach Fisher there when you're confused. You've got this game won, and you've got a bloke who could win the Coleman medal this year, and he's got a lead with 5 metres on his opponent. Just kick it to
Harry.
him. Yep.
Kick it to Harry.
Let him win his Coleman.
Here's Murphy. He's tackled by Steele. Billings comes in, handballs backwards to Crouch. Nothing's easy for St Kilda. Just grubbers the kick towards the sub in Sharman. Still they move it here, the Saints. A little bit of confidence maybe as Jones gives it off to Billings, who then goes to bench Max King. And King has taken a mark. 25 metres out on a slight angle.
Yeah, it could have run in another 20 metres and actually had a shot for goal. But your point there too, Lee, about giving a player confidence. This kid here, King, he busts his guts, so it's great to see him actually have another shot on goal.
It was Ryan Burns who delivered the kick to King. So Max King kicked 3 goals in the opening term. Hasn't kicked one since. He's lining up for his 4th. Early stages of the final term to the northern end, as casual as you like. And Max has got 4. Saints have got 8, Carlton has got 16, and the Blues lead it by 43 points at the 8-minute mark of this final term.
Well, Kel, can they make the 8, the Blues?
Well, wouldn't that be a turn up for the book?
Well, it's...
After a big mid-season review that's dominated their headlines, and they could make the 8. Well, they win this, they're equal 9th.
Yes, and there's no guarantee the sides in 8th, 10th or 11th will win. No guarantee.
No, and they've got the Suns back here next weekend.
They'll win that.
Tim Hodges on the bench.
This is a really sad sight, Kel. Hunter Clark came off. We just spoke about it before. He is no good. That face is already blowing up as well. He's gone down to the rooms, and he is a sick and sorry boy. So just repeating, he's coming back after 8 weeks off with a broken jaw, and I think he might have done something really bad to it again.
That's not good news for the 22-year-old. Thanks, Hodgie. Back in the middle. Marshall wins the tap, but Silvani first clean possession. Hand pass to Fisher. Long kick forward. Pitches in front of Curnow. That's Edge. Swings a kick around to O'Brien, who's crunched in the tackle from Jack Steele. Boy, that had some force behind it. And the rough tackle penalised, and Steele's looking at the umpire saying, what was that for? He's the number 1 tackler in the game, Jack Steele's laid more tackles than any other player this year. And Lockie O'Brien from 60 out will just lay it up to the top of the goal square in from the side. Josh Honey floats across the front and takes the mark. And he'll shoot from 20 out, 45-degree angle.
You mentioned his mum, Di Honey. She's known in netball circles. Was involved in the Melbourne Vixens. I don't know if she still is, but 17 games for Australia in the 80s. So winning a world title as well. So the family pedigree is definitely there, Corbin.
So Josh Honey, the only teenager on the ground tonight for the Blues. He skips in to give him a couple. His kick is good. And Honey doubles up. And the 100 is up for Carlton. 10 minutes into the final term, 17-2, 104. St Kilda 8-7-55. They're humiliating the Saints. It's 49 points again Carlton's way.
Yeah, well, you summed it up there, Corbin. Humiliation. It's just hard to really... It must be hard being a St Kilda supporter because you don't know what you're going to be served up. We know that they've lost a key back. We know that Paddy Ryder didn't front tonight because of his Achilles, and we know that Sinclair, who's been very, very good in the half back line. But this is substandard for a side that was, well, could have, as you mentioned, would have been a victory tonight. Would have put them in the 8, and then the others have got to chase them. And that's the disappointment thing about sides that are hunting for that 8th position. 7
of the last 10 majors have gone to the Blues. Back underway in the centre. And running onto it will be O'Brien, playing just his 2nd game for the season for the Blues tonight. He gives it to Newman. They've got it defensive side of the city wing. Silvani to Ed Curnow. Assesses the option. Throws it on the right boot. Out to his brother, Charlie. Almost took a mark. Good second effort. Just grubbers at a toe poker towards Mark Murphy. He had it. And then grabbing him was Seb Ross. Ball spills clear. Still a chance here. Right on 50 for the Blues. They're hungry for more goals. They want to pile them on in this final 10 minutes or so. Charlie Curnow picks it up. Kicks towards the top of the goal square, into the heart of the 50. Nunes to Fisher. Fisher gave it off to his teammate in Kennedy, who was brought down. And Kennedy saw behind play. The Saints have possession.
Oh, that's not a good kick. Kent trying to pick out the captain in a 2-on-1. Carlton with the numbers, bring it to ground. Stocker shoots a hand pass back into the centre square. Ed Curnow onto it, trying to break the Marshall tackle. Free kick. Umpire out of the zone, spots one for the Saints, and they're going to get it through Marshall.
Don't go sideways. Go at them now, St Kilda.
Gives it to Steele, kicks across the ground to Billings. Short pass to Hill, up over halfway. Inside the centre square, kicks deep. Membry leaps up. Membry trying to take the juggled mark. Can't complete it. Pack forms around him.
He's going to get a free kick.
And he gets a free for a high tackle. So Membry will get a gift. He'll shoot from 30 out right in front.
Yeah, it was just a clumsy last little effort by Plowman. I think came over the shoulder. But St Kilda can't win this game, Mick. They've just got to learn to play the right way for the rest of this game.
But even that kick there, I reckon King was in a better position than Membry. Yep. So even the choice of kicks there, he was in behind his man. Membry had to go and take a mark in a contested position. So you're spot on. Right? I mean, it's not a matter of what you got to lose. You got a lot to lose. But you can still builds yourself up into the next week.
So Tim Membry, he's kicked one already tonight. He moves in, deliberate approach. He gets his second. Little pump of the fist. Still plenty of work to do. Carlton's lead back to 43. St Kilda 9-7-61, trading goals in the final term with Carlton. The Blues 7-2-104. That's 13 minutes into this final term. Nick, you touched on the frustration for St Kilda fans not knowing what you're going to get. I imagine, in a weird way, Carlton fans will be feeling the same tonight. That where was this last week?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And that's any side that's outside the 8, unless you're in the 8 and you've solidified it by being good enough and look back at with 4 to go and go, well, no one can replace us. But when you've got sides like even the Tigers have been good, but then they're poor. The Saints have been good but poor. Carlton have been the same. So there's so many sides. GWS, there's no consistency. And when you've got no consistency, you do frustrate your supporters because they know your best is very good and your poor play can be like the Saints tonight.
Fisher with the kick out of the centre for the Blues to centre half forward. Charging out there, but unable to take the mark for the Blues. Cripps gets on the end of it and he pokes it towards Mackay. And it's not paid. Not paid for Harry Mackay. He's got a handful. He dearly loves 6 to extend that lead in the Coleman. And the kick from Dunstan for St Kilda. He was looking to get it across to half forward. Higgins, quick handball into space. Going without it was Dow. A chance here for St Kilda. It was Sharman fighting hard. Going again. Higgins out to Brad Hill. Brad Hill, the centering kick. Who's there? And the mark taken by Billings. He was met heavily late by Lockie O'Brien, and Billings will have a set shot. He hasn't kicked one tonight, so a chance for him for his first at the 10-minute mark, rather the 15-minute mark of the final term. It's Carlton by 43, Lingy.
All the Saints players just charging forward, trying to get a kick.
Yeah, that was good play by Hill, though, Lingy.
Pad the sheep.
To bring that ball across into the front there, not blaze away.
So Billings only 20 metres out on his left. He should kick this every day of the week. He normally does, and he doesn't. He pushes it right across the face. This is a flat team, and out of sorts St Kilda. Just want this night to end as the Blues bring it back into play.
Saab marks the kick out, went short to Walsh, but it's turned over. Membry brings it to ground. Hand pass along the boundary line to Butler. He's tackled out of play by Stocker, so throw in 40 out from the Saints goal.
It's going to be an interesting off-season for St Kilda. Whether or not last year was true form for some of these players and this year poor, just a down year, or this year's the true form and last year people like Dan Butler just played above themselves and had one out of the box. How they analyse their list.
Carlton by 7 goals from the boundary throw-in. Zach Jones squeezes the kick out in the Sharman direction. Liam Jones gets across his cover, wins it for Carlton. He's dumped after getting the kick away, so it'll be downfield and Josh Honey to take it. City wing for Carlton.
Silly thing by Kent. He's been horrible all night and he just made it worse.
A hand pass away to O'Brien. Kicks down to Mackay. One-on-one with Wilkie. Mackay goes to ground. And Ross scoops up on the loose footy for St Kilda. Goes back to Highmore. Defensive goal square. Kicks to centre half back for Zach Jones. Now a chance for St Kilda in transition. Hand pass away to Hill. Kicks down the dockside wing and Membry marks. Short ball on the 45. Back to Steele. Outer edge of the centre square. He's about 70 from home in that launch pad. Carlton by 42 points. 17 played final term. Steele kicks into the pocket. Higgins the target. He's up and marking. And Higgins got the kick into the space in the pocket. Able to take a strong mark overhead. He's going to waste no time. Snap across the body and Jack Higgins gets a moment late. A nice contested mark and finishes across the body. The margin back to 36 Carlton's way. The Blues 7-2-104. St Kilda 10-8-68. 17 played final term.
Yeah, they've had a bit of a breather, Lingy, the Blues. I don't know if it's going to be a bother about percentage. It's more about whether or not they can maintain that pressure. And fairness, Charlie Curnow coming back first time in almost a year, he's only going to just get the legs going. In fact, probably if DeConning hadn't come off, he would be sitting on the bench, maybe just having a bit of a breather.
Yeah, he's better for the run. I mean, 2 years of footy, you just want to get through, feel the pace of it again, and a couple of little touches. Kicked that amazing goal just to remind everyone how exciting he is. But will be better for the run, absolutely. Kennedy in the ruck now. I think Kennedy and Silvani in particular have done a magnificent job in that ruck.
Kennedy doesn't even bother jumping. He just says, Ryan Marshall, you go for it. Saints win it out of the centre. Higgins has got it, and he hits up Membry on a lead.
Yeah, that's how easy it should have been.
Yeah, going back a few quarters ago, Mick.
No, a few centuries ago, this is what they used to say as coaches. Ruck hits it to the centreman, hand passes to the rover, hits the forward on the up, he takes the mark and kicks the goal. It was about a century ago, I reckon. But it doesn't happen these days as often.
Is that when you coached your first game, Mick?
About right, Ling. About right.
Ling.
Yeah.
You're a brave man.
I'm going to go hide in the back of the box now.
Here's Tim Membry from outside 50. Straight as an arrow. They needed that a little earlier tonight, but Membry now has 3. He's kicked a couple in this final term. And just adding a little bit of respectability to this scoreboard late. Carlton by 30 points. It's St Kilda 11-8-74. Carlton 17-2, 104. Mick, you can go first before Cameron.
Oh, well, it's just so disappointing when you see how easy it is. And I think Lingy said it early. When you've got a ruckman against a non-ruckman, you make them pay, and that's what's happened in the last couple of hit-outs. But why wait? I look across now, and I just see Silvani. Like he's not quick. He's got all heart. He'll have a jump. He's going to have to jump this time. He didn't jump last time they got slaughtered. But reality-wise, is the midfield have not taken advantage of this clear advantage.
He's got a great stat line tonight as well. Jack Silvani's put in a mountain of work as Zach Jones gets the centre clearance for Carlton. Heading out to half forward. Off hands, it's just plucked away by Steele. Oh, Higgins tried to go through the legs of Sard. Ricochets off his legs and towards Carlton's advantage. Eventually, Ed Curnow across half-back gives it to Kennedy. He's dumped in a heavy tackle from long. Ball spits out. Crouch for the Saints. Hand pass to Steele. Away to Burns. Off balance. Kicks into the pocket. I think he was going for the goal scorer, shooting for goal. Then Higgins takes the mark in the pocket for St Kilda. And he retreats. Goes back to Billings. Marks it right half forward.
I heard you said before, Kel, about him being reliable, Billings. Billings is not... I don't see him as a reliable player as far as...
Did I say that?
I just thought you said he'd kick a goal. And I just thought,
yeah, right.
He's not a really reliable shot on goal.
No.
For enough.
He's off contract too. Jack Billings. He just hooks around off his preferred left boot and misses to the near side.
Will he be there next year? That's the big question. Will he be at Moorabbin next year, Jack Billings?
Who wants him, Kel?
He's another intriguing question for their list management.
Yeah.
Seb Ross is the same.
Yep.
Same position.
Well, why would you bring in Crouch and then move Ross?
Wiedering with the kick in. Goes long. Long almost cut it off. He's handballed it straight to Cripps, though, and then Cripps off to Walsh. What a game he's had, Sam Walsh. Out to Ed Curnow, went over the line.
And you talked a bit, Lingy, about what the strategy is at the end of the year. If they're both free agents, so they don't have to do a deal for them. So you wonder if another club comes along, gets them, and say they get a second-round compensation. Would they rather that at this stage of where they are? They've got to answer all those questions.
Yeah, they're good questions, but then they've got to look at the makeup of their midfield. Is Crouch, Seb Ross, Jack Billings all just the same sort of player?
Boundary throw in, run in front of the Saints bench. Saints ground level. And Walsh had it. He slides in. He's tackled by Jones. Sorry, Lingy, continue on.
Billings could be the one player out of that who could be different to them, because if he added kicking goals to his game. But unfortunately, he's just not good enough in front of goal and doesn't find enough. If he could be a goal and a half a game midfielder, then outstanding. He's different to Ross and to Crouch.
4-2 in this final term, St Kilda's favour, but they still trail by 29. 5 minutes left in it. Here is Seb Ross. He's charging forward on his left. He put it out in front of Membry, who's kicked 3 late. Membry then just dives on it. He's got to be careful here. He's sitting right on top of it. The umpire doesn't blow his whistle. Eventually he does. And holding the ball just a couple of metres in front of Tim Hodges. Hodgie.
Kel, not good news for St Kilda. Hunter Clark has just emerged from the rooms. His boots are beside him. He's getting a jacket to put over himself. He's looking really miserable. I hope he's okay, but just repeating, he copped that heavy knock to the face, and we just hope it's not that broken jaw that he's coming back from.
It's not good news at all, thanks, Hodgie, as Cripps goes long down the wing. Ross hangs it inside the boundary line as he gives it back to Steele, kicks the half forward, Wiedering in front of King.
Hodgie, you saw it, we've just seen two replays. There was one where, he was coming at another player, and it really looked like contact to that jaw region. And then another one where, I think it's the one where you were referring to earlier, where he's a bit of a clash over the boundary line, hit the ground hard, and it almost must have rattled that jaw, and he looked so sore after it. So just on those replays, it does not look good at all.
Yeah, so Lingy, it looks like he lost a bunch of teeth in that incident with David Mackay in Cairns, you might remember, and I think he's whether he's had some dental work, but it looks like he's going to have some more dental work to come, just with the way his mouth is at the moment, and he just looks a miserable figure on the bench. You really do feel sorry for him.
Just 22 years of age, top 10 pick. He's playing some really good footy too, so not good news at all for Hunter Clark. They lost Dougal Howard with a hamstring right on half-time, and Tom de Koning, Carlton's last remaining big man to play in the ruck, went down really on the stroke of quarter time. We haven't seen him since, and Silvani's carried the load in the ruck. The footy's out on the City wing, and now it's out of bounds, inadvertently socked away by Zach Fisher. No change to the score in that time. Carlton by 29, but it's been much, much worse than that. They did lead by 50 at one stage in the third term. We've now travelled 24 minutes into the final quarter.
4 goals to 2 the Saints have kicked in this final term. So a throw in on the City side. Kennedy out to Fisher, and then Fisher to O'Brien. His handball was smothered by Marshall, who's got a big heart. He's fighting hard. He went for a fresh air kick. And there's some tired players out there at the moment as the umpire blows his whistle. So it'll be a ball up on the City wing. Hodgie.
Yeah, just on Hunter Clark, maybe Lingy, he's just been given a bag of ice. He's just got resting under his mouth. Like, would you think that could be the crack of the jaw again? Or
yeah,
what do you think?
Sounds a lot like it.
Yeah.
Everything you're describing, Hodgie, is unfortunately, we fingers crossed and we hope for the best, but that sounds a lot like re-injuring of that jaw.
Yeah, so right now he's just got a bag of ice just sitting underneath his nose, resting on his mouth. So, yeah, he's
his nose.
Yeah, he's just so sore at the moment.
How long ago how long's he missed?
It was in Cairns, wasn't it, about 6 weeks ago?
Yeah,
so it has been
week
6.
before their bye.
Round 13.
So it has been 6, yeah, okay. Yep. So you generally, you've got to miss the 6 to get that bone right.
O'Brien sending it inside 50, looking for Mackay. He's winning a free kick here. And Harry Mackay, with just minutes left on the clock, will line up for his 6th goal of the night to extend his lead in the Coleman over Taylor Walker. He came in with 52. He's got the handful, so he's up to 57. So this for number 58 for the year. Taylor Walker has 46.
The 6 goals get him the 3 votes, Mick.
Trying to think.
Sam Walsh might have something to say about that. So he's only kicking 30 metres out on the left. It's a traditional approach, and every time he does that, he misses. So another miss. 5 goals, 2 for Harry Mackay tonight. Carlton by 30.
It's his 3rd best return. He does have a bag of 7 and a bag of 6 in his career. As Leo Conley spinning away from the would-be tackle from Honey, and then a hand pass in the middle of the ground. Finds Burns. He links up with Dunstan. Kicks out to half forward. Plowman in the box seat. Can't complete the mark. Spills to Membry. 60 out. Still at half forward against the boundary line. Shares it with Butler. Back to Membry. Puts it inside 50, and there's Williamson. He's kicked a couple tonight getting forward for Carlton. His quick rebound out of defensive 50 is not good. Connolly intercepts. Hand pass out wide. Slips out of play, so a throw in half forward for the Saints. So Carlton are going to be 2 points out of the 8 tonight, with 3 to play, and that includes losses to the 18th placed Roos and the 16th placed Pies.
It doesn't matter who they've lost to, it's who they play next 3 weeks, Corbin. If they win those, they've got a real chance.
So they play the Gold Coast here at Docklands, Port Adelaide in Adelaide, and GWS at Docklands to finish is the run home for Carlton. So from the boundary throw-in, it comes to Steele. He kicks inside the forward 50. Slips off the hand into the path of King. He gives it to Sharman. Back to King. Hand pass to centre-half forward. Long trying to get his peg free to have a shot at the sticks. Lays it back by hand to Connolly. Kicks to the top of the goal square. Sharman takes the mark. There was a whistle, I think, really in line with all of that. And in the end, they're going to pay the mark to the youngster, Cooper Sharman.
Yeah, I think they played the push in the back to Higgins. And I don't know why one precedes the other.
Had turned 21 last Sunday, a day after his AFL debut. He's on the park for the first time tonight, and he's got a couple. So Cooper Sharman, premiership player with Oakley and Victorian under-18 level, played the second half, and he's got a couple in a losing team. Carlton's lead down to 24 right before the final bell. The Blues 17-3, 105. St Kilda up to 12-9, 81.
He's shown enough, hasn't he, young Cooper Sharman? I mean, 2 goals coming on as a sub.
And Connolly a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Picked up 2 good kids there.
So they've got some kids. Again, that keeps posing the questions. Are these kids really good? And do they need to be given opportunities?
Oh, absolutely.
Or are those players who, Dunstan, Ross, Brad Hill, all these types of players we talk about, are they the finals and premiership glory for the Saints in the years to come? Or is it going to come from more of these kids? That be some tough decisions made on this off-season for the Saints.
Carlton by 24. They're closing in on their 4th win in their last 6 games. Lost to the Wooden Spooners, North Melbourne last week. Still a chance here, maybe for a late goal as Martin flicks it over. And then a long kick for Honey, and Honey goes goalward. He's already kicked 2. He's missing that one.
It's hit the post. That was a good kick. He looks like that was home and hosed.
Wilkie brings it back into play for St Kilda. Goes the corridor way. Thumped down by Cripps, only as far down as Martin. Martin gives it to Mark Murphy, and Mark Murphy's going to kick a goal on the siren. It counts. So Mark Murphy in game number 298 has kicked his 197th goal. Can the veteran get to 300? Can he get to 200 goals? But I tell you what, the Blues are back. Charlie's back, Harry's back. The Blues bounce back after losing to the Wooden Spooners. They beat the Saints by 31.
We are the Navy Blues. We are the old dark Navy Blues. We're the team that never lets you down. We're the only team on Carlton Road. With all the champions they like to send up, we'll keep our end up, and they will know that they've been playing against the famous old dark blue.
The Carlton Footy Club still a slim finals hope. They're up to 9th position on the ladder, a couple of points out of the 8th. They won 18-4, 112 to St Kilda 12-9, 81. Led by 12 at quarter time, by 28 at half time, by 43, as much as 50. But a couple of late for St Kilda, and it's the Blues by 31. Harry Mackay booted 5, Sam Walsh with 3, 2 each to Honey and Williamson, and for the Saints, 5 to Max King, 3 to Membry.
We are the Navy Blues. We are the old dark Navy Blues. We're the team that never lets you down. We're the only team on Carlton knows. With all the champions they like to send up, we'll keep our end up, and they will know that they've been playing against the famous old dark blue.
There's a bit in all of that. Carlton by 31 points. They did lead by 50 late in the third term. We might need an addendum to that review that's just been handed in. Back on track tonight, Carlton, after a loss to the 18th placed Kangaroos. A win by 31 points over the Saints. A bit in it for St Kilda in that final term too. We did cite those heavy defeats earlier in the year where they really rolled over, lost 3 games by over 70 points, including 1 to the Western Bulldogs by 111 back in round 10. Well, they finished a little better tonight. They kicked the last 4 goals of the game to at least add some respectability on the scoreboard. It was pretty grim before that. We had injuries all over the place right at half-time. Tom DeConing with a pec complaint. The last big man hurt for Carlton, Dougal Howard's done his string, and we fear a recurrence of the broken jaw for Hunter Clark. More on all of that in the wash-up. Carlton by 31. The initial thoughts of Cameron Ling and Mick Malthouse.
Well, a super impressive 3 quarters from the Blues. Just completely outplayed the Saints. Loved the way that their pressure was high. Obviously took a bit of a rocket from last week, and their work in the contest was good. Ball movement excellent, and the forward line functioned really well. Last quarter, as much as the game was over, and you say, well, it doesn't matter, they always had it in hand. It was a bit disappointing the way they finished, given they're a team who is trying to find their very best form, trying to understand each other, trying to work towards a potential finals berth. You don't want to ever finish a game like that. But St Kilda threw a few things at them in the last quarter, and blokes were running forward to the footy and got on the end of a couple. But a very good performance by the Blues. An extremely disappointing first 3 quarters and game from the Saints. It just continues the year. I didn't have them highly rated coming into the year, I must admit, Mick. I was on the side of last year they overachieved. But then just the last, I don't know, month, 5 weeks, I thought, oh, hang on, are they going to build something? Are they going to work towards finals? Have they got a decent team? Was Brad Crouch the right decision? Max King's evolution and all of that. But then you watch them play those first 3 quarters tonight and go back to thinking, no, they're a pretty ordinary team.
Yeah, I think you summed it up very well, Lingy. They are, like if you said, who's their best player, you go, probably Jack Steele.
Jack Steele, yep.
Is he going to be able to hold that type of standard up and win games of footy? He's a doer. He's made his mark on a bit of the stuff that you did as a tagger. Then he's dropped off the tag to be a creative player. And I don't know whether he's creative enough to be a really great creative player. But I'll put these questions to you. Look, you got Crouch, Dunstan, Steele, and Ross. If they are in the Olympics, there'd have to be a C grade 100-metre sprint for them to even. They may get to the C grade because Crouch runs sideways. Dunstan, I like Dunstan because he has a crack, but again, his disposal lets him down. Steele, we've spoken about. I reckon Seb Ross has gone backwards. He looked like just a while ago, looked like being a really good player. I remember him playing on Dangerfield and thinking he's played shoulder to shoulder with Dangerfield, and Dangerfield was at his best, and he was playing some really good football. But that's gone. I don't know why that's gone. Then I asked the question about Butler, and I'll say this again about these sort of blokes. When they, at the end of the best side that goes around, all of a sudden everyone says they're a champion. Butler was never a champion. He was a finisher on the work of Rewalt and co. And then I look at Hill. It's his 3rd club, and he's done nothing to promote himself in regard to what we spoke about. Then I look at Hunter, the young bloke. He's a mile off being a good player, and he'll develop late. Kent is another player who battled to get a game with Melbourne when Melbourne at their worst. And on tonight's performance and other performances, he's a trier, but he's not going to be in a side that's going to look for the top 4. So there's half a dozen, or there's 10 players of which you could probably move 6 or 7 of those and you'd be better off bringing those kids in that we've spoken about tonight.
Well, and from the flip side, Carlton, we've seen some of last week was a really poor performance, and I was bitterly disappointed with them last week, Carlton. But over the course of the whole season, let's not just react to last week's win. Let's not react too positively to tonight's win. Over the course of the season, there's been progression in some players. Jack Silvani is having a good year. Paddy Dow's taken big steps forward. Harry Mackay, we're now starting to see him get real total confidence in himself. Liam Stocker's perhaps finding his feet down back and starting to find a bit of a role there. You get a game into Charlie Curnow, and perhaps he finishes the year off well. Tom Williamson, is he finding a really good role down there where he can be a bit of an interceptor, can create, he kicked 2 goals tonight? They're the little things that you go, okay, maybe we're getting somewhere with Carlton. Still don't know what they're going to do this year. They might scrape into finals, but if they do, they're only making up the numbers. But at least 2022, 2023 and 2024 might look like something for Carlton. I'm not exactly sure what 2022, 3 and 4 looks for St Kilda. I don't know what that team looks like.
We'll have more of a chat about that coming up. Cameron Ling, Mick Moldhouse, Kelly Underwood and myself, Corbin Middlemass, full time here tonight at Docklands, a 31-point win for the Blue Baggers. Let's get into their rooms and have a listen to the song. Points in the finish. They kicked 112 points for the night, which is their second best this year. They ended up kicking 18 goals 4, which was an incredibly accurate display. 5 for Harry Mackay up front. St Kilda 12-9, 81. So in the finish, a 31-point win for the Blues. As we've touched on a couple of times throughout the night, they now sit just 2 points outside of the top 8 as it currently stands. They have losses to the 16th and 18th place teams, and they're 0-8 against the top 8 as it's currently constructed, and yet their faint finals hopes are alive on the back of a big 31-point win tonight. Paddy Dow picked 3 back in 2017, 4th year Blue, just really coming into his own in his 56th game tonight. He was tremendous. Carlton winners by 31, and I'm pleased to say he joins us on Grandstand AFL. Paddy, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Yeah, it was great to get a win after a bit of a disappointing loss last week. Yeah, it was good to respond.
What was the week like?
Yeah, we went back to sort of reviewing just some fundamentals that we didn't get right last week. But yeah, we just had a good look at each other, and there were a few challenges. But at the end of the day, we reviewed the game well.